Why do we sometimes feel empty even when nothing seems wrong? Why can a life look calm from the outside and still feel strangely hollow within? We may have comfort, we may have choices, we may have distractions waiting for us at every moment. And still, somewhere beneath the surface, a quiet question remains. What is all of this for? This was the kind of question Friedrich Nietzsche could not ignore. More than a century ago, Nietzsche looked into the modern soul and saw something unsettling. He saw that human beings do not suffer only because life is painful. They suffer because they no longer know what their pain means. They suffer because their values may not truly belong to them. Their dreams may have been inherited. Their fears may have been trained into them. Their ideas of success, goodness, happiness, and purpose may have been quietly handed to them by family, religion, culture, society, or the age they happen to be born into. And slowly, without noticing it, a person may begin to live a life that is not fully their own. Nietzsche was not a philosopher of comfort. He did not write to calm the soul with easy answers. He wrote like someone holding up a mirror in a dark room. And what appears in that mirror is not always pleasant. We may see that many of our beliefs are borrowed. Many of our ambitions are imitations. Many of our virtues are mixed with fear. Many of our comforts are hiding places. And many of the things we call happiness are only ways of avoiding a deeper question. What am I becoming? Nietzsche is often remembered for one sentence. God is dead. But he was not simply trying to shock religious people. He was naming a crisis. The old sources of meaning were losing their power. Religion, tradition, absolute morality, inherited certainty, the things that once gave life a clear direction, were beginning to collapse. But Nietzsche saw something even more dangerous. Human beings had begun to lose the old meanings, but they had not yet become strong enough to create new ones. They still wanted purpose, they still wanted truth, they still wanted morality, they still wanted to know how to live. But the ground beneath those answers was disappearing. This, for Nietzsche, was the beginning of nihilism. And nihilism does not always look dramatic. It does not always look like sadness or despair. Sometimes it looks ordinary. It looks like endless distraction. It looks like chasing success without knowing why success matters. It looks like laughing at everything because nothing feels sacred anymore. It looks like having freedom but no direction, comfort but no depth, pleasure but no meaning, a life full of movement but empty of destination. Perhaps this is why Nietzsche still feels so close to us. The modern world gives us more than almost any generation before us. More information, more entertainment, more comfort, more ways to be seen, more ways to compare ourselves, more ways to escape ourselves. And yet, beneath all of this, many people feel tired, not only physically tired, spiritually tired, tired of performing, tired of wanting things that do not satisfy them, tired of pretending to believe in goals that no longer feel alive, tired of being free but not knowing what freedom is for. Nietzsche believed that the greatest danger to human beings might not be suffering. It might be a life without depth, a life without risk, a life where we no longer try to become more than we are, but only try to remain comfortable, approved of, entertained, and safe. He gave this danger a name, the last man. The last man is not evil. He is not violent. He is not a monster. That is what makes him frightening. He looks normal. He works. He consumes. He avoids pain. He avoids silence. He avoids difficult questions. He wants small pleasures, small comforts, small opinions, and small dreams. He does not suffer deeply, but he does not live deeply either. For Nietzsche, this was one of the darkest possibilities for humanity. Not that we would become cruel, but that we would become smaller, softer, safer, more comfortable, and less alive. This is why Nietzsche still disturbs us. Not because every word he wrote was right. It was not. Nietzsche was brilliant, extreme, contradictory, poetic, lonely, dangerous, and often misunderstood. But he saw something in the human soul that is difficult to unsee. He saw that people often prefer security to freedom, approval to truth, belonging to becoming, an easy answer to a question that might transform them. And so Nietzsche leaves us with questions that are still difficult to face. Are your values truly yours? Are your dreams truly yours? Are you good because you are strong enough to be good, or because you are afraid to be anything else? Do you want truth, or only comfort? Do you want freedom, or only permission? Do you want to become who you are, or merely remain who you were taught to be? Nietzsche's philosophy is not a soft place to rest. It is more like a quiet path through the mountains at night, cold, lonely, beautiful, dangerous. But if we walk it slowly, we may begin to understand why his ideas have haunted the modern world for so long. We may begin to understand why suffering can become strength, why comfort can become a prison, why old values collapse, why nihilism spreads silently through ordinary life, and why the self is not something we simply find. It is something we must create. Nietzsche's deepest command was not obey, it was not believe, it was not even be happy. It was something more difficult. Become who you are. So in this journey we will enter Nietzsche's world slowly, not as a lecture, not as a list of concepts, but as a descent into suffering, into meaning, into the death of old truths, into the danger of freedom, into the loneliness of becoming. And perhaps by the end, Nietzsche will not give us comfort, but he may give us something more valuable, a question strong enough to wake us from the life we have been sleepwalking through. Chapter 1. Why Nietzsche Still Disturbs Us. Nietzsche still disturbs us because he does not let us hide behind easy answers. He does not let us say, "This is good," without asking where our idea of goodness came from. He does not let us say, "This is who I am," without asking who taught us to become that person. He does not let us say, "I want freedom," without asking whether we are ready for the loneliness that freedom may bring. That is why Nietzsche does not feel like a distant philosopher from the 19th century. He feels strangely close, sometimes almost too close, because the world he feared looks very much like the world many people now live in. A world with more comfort than depth, more information than wisdom, more entertainment than meaning, more freedom than direction, more opinions than conviction, more ways to be seen, but fewer reasons to know who we are when no one is watching. Nietzsche understood that human beings are not only hungry for pleasure, they are hungry for meaning. They need something to live for, something to suffer for, something to become. Without meaning, even comfort begins to feel empty. A person can have a good job, a safe home, a full calendar, and a life that looks perfectly fine from the outside, and still feel that something essential is missing. Nietzsche wanted to understand that missing thing. He wanted to know why people who seem free often live as if they are trapped by approval, trapped by habit, trapped by fear, trapped by values they never chose, trapped by the need to belong, and perhaps most deeply, trapped by a version of themselves they are afraid to outgrow. This is why Nietzsche's philosophy can feel uncomfortable. He does not only criticize society, he turns the question back toward us. What part of your life is truly yours? What part of your morality is courage, and what part is fear? What part of your kindness is strength, and what part is the desire to be liked? What part of your ambition comes from your own soul, and what part was planted there by the world around you? These questions do not attack loudly. They enter quietly. They sit beside us. They wait. And if we are honest, they begin to change the way we look at ourselves. Nietzsche is disturbing because he understood that people often do not want truth as much as they say they do. They want a truth that does not cost too much, a truth that does not make them lonely, a truth that does not force them to change, a truth that can fit comfortably inside the life they already have. But Nietzsche's truth is rarely comfortable. It asks us to look at the places where we have become small, not because someone forced us, but because smallness felt safer. He saw that many people would rather be accepted than free. They would rather be praised than transformed. They would rather be protected by old meanings than stand alone and create new ones. And this is why Nietzsche speaks so powerfully to the modern age. Modern people are surrounded by choices, but often lack a reason to choose. They are told to be themselves, but rarely taught how to create a self. They are told to follow their dreams, but many of those dreams were borrowed before they were ever questioned. They are told to be happy, but happiness without depth can become another form of sleep. Nietzsche does not want us to sleepwalk through life. He wants us to notice where we obey without thinking, where we smile without meaning it, where we call something virtue because we are afraid to call it weakness, where we call something peace because we are afraid of conflict, where we call something realism because we are afraid to desire more. This is why Nietzsche still matters, not because he gives simple answers, but because he makes simple answers impossible. He does not tell us exactly how to live. He asks whether we have the courage to live deliberately. He does not offer comfort. He offers a mirror, and if we can bear to look into that mirror long enough, we may begin to see the difference between the life we inherited and the life we might still create. But Nietzsche did not write these ideas from a place of ease. He did not think from the safety of a calm and ordinary life. His philosophy was shaped by illness, solitude, disappointment, and intensity. It was not only something he thought, in many ways it was something he survived. So before we enter his most dangerous ideas, we must first meet the lonely life that created them. Because to understand Nietzsche's philosophy, we must understand the man who stood behind it, a man who suffered deeply, a man who lived mostly alone, a man who wrote against comfort, not because he had too much of it, but because he knew how easily comfort can become a cage. And this is where Nietzsche's journey begins, not with a doctrine, not with a system, but with a lonely human being trying to turn pain into vision. Chapter 2. Life of Nietzsche. To understand Nietzsche, we should not begin with his ideas. We should begin with his loneliness, because Nietzsche did not write like a man observing life safely from a distance. He wrote like someone who had been wounded by life and then tried to turn the wound into vision. Before he became the philosopher of suffering, power, nihilism, and self-overcoming, Nietzsche was a fragile human being, a sick body, a restless mind, a lonely son, a brilliant student, a disappointed friend, a man who wanted to be understood but often seemed destined to be misunderstood. And this matters, because Nietzsche's philosophy was not born in comfort. It was born in pain, in silence, in illness, in long walks, in rooms where he was alone with his thoughts, his body, and the feeling that he was speaking to a world not yet ready to hear him. Friedrich Nietzsche was born in 1844 in a small village in Prussia. His father was a Lutheran pastor. His home was shaped by Christian belief, moral seriousness, and the sense that life had a sacred order. But when Nietzsche was still a child, his father died. Soon after, his younger brother died as well. Death entered his life early, and for a boy who would later write about suffering, meaning, and the collapse of old beliefs, this early loss became part of the atmosphere of his mind. Nietzsche grew up serious, sensitive, disciplined, and unusually gifted. As a young man, he studied classical philology, the language and culture of the ancient world. He was so talented that he became a professor at the University of Basel at a very young age. From the outside, this looked like the beginning of a secure and brilliant life, a respected position, a serious career, a safe place inside the academic world. But Nietzsche was not made for safety. Even when he was successful, something in him was already moving away from the ordinary path. He did not want only to study ancient texts. He wanted to understand life itself. What makes a culture strong? What makes a soul weak? Why do some people transform suffering while others become poisoned by it? What makes life worth affirming, even when it is painful? For a time, Nietzsche believed that art might awaken a tired modern world. This is why his relationship with Richard Wagner mattered so much. Wagner seemed to him like a force of music, myth, drama, and cultural rebirth. But the admiration did not last. Slowly, Nietzsche became disappointed. He began to see in Wagner the very things he would later criticize in modern culture: theatricality, emotional manipulation, decadence, and a retreat into old religious moods. The break was painful. Nietzsche lost not only a friend, but a vision, and this pattern would appear again and again in his life: hope, intensity, disappointment, separation. Again and again, Nietzsche reached toward people, ideas, and possibilities with great force, and again he found himself alone. His health made this loneliness even deeper. For much of his adult life, Nietzsche suffered from severe physical problems: headaches, eye pain, nausea, digestive trouble, exhaustion, periods of almost unbearable weakness. Eventually, he had to leave his university position. He could no longer live the life of a normal academic. From that point on, Nietzsche became a wandering thinker. He moved from place to place, searching for climates that might make his suffering easier to bear. Small rooms, quiet towns, mountain paths, long solitary walks. He had no stable home in the ordinary sense, no wife, few lasting friendships, very little recognition while he was still able to enjoy it. And yet, during these years of illness and isolation, he wrote some of the most powerful books in modern philosophy. This is one of the strange paradoxes of Nietzsche's life. The weaker his body became, the sharper his mind became. The more isolated he was, the more universal his questions became. The less the world listened, the more fiercely he wrote for readers who had not yet arrived. Nietzsche often felt that he was writing for the future, for people who would understand him only later. This gives his work a haunting quality. It feels personal, but not merely personal, lonely but not small, wounded but not passive. He did not turn suffering into a request for pity. He turned suffering into a question. What can pain become? Can illness teach strength? Can loneliness become a place where a person finally hears their own voice? Can the loss of old beliefs become the beginning of creation? These were not abstract questions for Nietzsche. They were lived questions. When he wrote against comfort, he was not speaking as a man who had too much comfort. When he wrote about overcoming, he was not speaking from an easy life. When he criticized resentment, passive suffering, and weakness of spirit, he was not untouched by pain. He knew pain intimately, and perhaps that is why he feared what pain could do to the soul. Suffering, for Nietzsche, could make a person deeper, but it could also make a person bitter. It could create strength, but it could also create resentment. It could open the soul, but it could also poison it. The question was never simply whether someone suffered. Everyone suffers. The question was what suffering becomes inside them. Does it become hatred, self-pity, an excuse to stop growing, or can it become discipline, honesty, vision, power? Nietzsche's own life forced this question on him again and again. He wanted love, but often found distance. He wanted readers, but often found silence. He wanted health, but lived inside illness. He wanted greatness, but lived much of his life in obscurity. And still he kept writing, not gently, not always wisely, but with the intensity of someone who believed that something enormous was at stake. He believed that Europe was moving toward a crisis of meaning. He believed that old religious and moral structures were weakening. He believed that modern people were becoming more comfortable, but not necessarily stronger. He believed that humanity might shrink into safety, distraction, and small pleasures, and perhaps he felt this crisis so sharply because he had already lived without many of the comforts that protect ordinary people from such questions. No easy belonging, no stable faith, no healthy body, no large audience, no simple home, only thought, solitude, suffering, and the dangerous freedom of someone who could no longer return to the world that had formed him. Near the end of his productive life, Nietzsche's mind collapsed. In 1889, in Turin, he suffered a mental breakdown from which he never truly recovered. The final years of his life were spent in silence, illness, and dependence. There is something deeply tragic in this. The man who wrote so fiercely about strength, freedom, and becoming could no longer continue his own battle. And yet, after his collapse, the readers he had imagined finally arrived. The world that had ignored him became obsessed with him. His name became attached to existentialism, psychology, literature, art, politics, nihilism, and the crisis of modern meaning. But behind the name, behind the myth, there remains the lonely human being, a man who suffered, a man who thought intensely, a man who tried to turn pain into philosophy. And maybe this is why Nietzsche still reaches people so deeply. He does not write like someone untouched by darkness. He writes like someone who entered it and refused to let it have the final word. His loneliness did not make him gentle. His suffering did not make him simple, his pain did not make him comforting, but it made him dangerous in the most important sense, dangerous to illusions, dangerous to easy answers, dangerous to every part of us that wants to be safe more than we want to be alive. And now that we have seen the lonely life behind Nietzsche's ideas, we can begin to understand one of his deepest questions. What if suffering is not only something to escape? What if it can also become the place where a person is transformed? Chapter 3. Suffering is not the enemy. Most people spend their lives trying to suffer less pain, less fear, less uncertainty, less loneliness, less failure, less disappointment, and this is natural. Who would not want an easier life? Who would not want peace instead of struggle? Who would not want comfort instead of pain? But Nietzsche asks a question that feels unsettling at first. What if suffering is not always the enemy? What if the real danger is not that life wounds us? What if the real danger is that we become so afraid of being wounded that we never become strong? Nietzsche was not romantic about pain in a simple way. He did not think suffering was automatically beautiful. He knew illness. He knew loneliness. He knew rejection. He knew what it meant to live inside a body that often felt like a burden. So when Nietzsche speaks about suffering, he is not speaking as someone untouched by it. He is speaking as someone who had to ask what suffering would become. Would it make him smaller? Would it make him bitter? Would it turn him against life? Or could it become material? Could pain become insight? Could loneliness become strength? Could loss become depth? This is where Nietzsche becomes difficult but powerful. He does not ask us to pretend that suffering is good. He asks whether suffering can be transformed. That is a different question. Pain by itself does not make anyone noble. Suffering alone does not make a person wise. Some people suffer and become deeper. Others suffer and become cruel. Some people suffer and become more honest. Others suffer and spend the rest of their lives searching for someone to blame. Some people suffer and create. Others suffer and slowly begin to hate everything that reminds them of life. Nietzsche understood this difference. The question is not whether you suffer. Everyone suffers. The question is what your suffering becomes inside you. Does it become resentment? Does it become self-pity? Does it become an excuse to stop growing? Does it become a secret wish to make others suffer too? Or does it become strength, clarity, discipline, a fire that burns away what is false? For Nietzsche, the highest human beings are not those who have avoided pain. They are those who have transformed it. They take what could have broken them and give it form, into character, into vision, into a deeper way of being alive. This is why Nietzsche can feel so different from the culture around us. Modern life often teaches us that pain is only a problem to remove. If we feel anxious, we want it gone. If we feel lonely, we distract ourselves. If we feel uncertain, we look for quick reassurance. If something hurts, we try to make it stop immediately. And sometimes this is necessary. Some pain is destructive. Some wounds need care. Some suffering should not be glorified. Nietzsche is not asking us to worship pain, but he is asking us to notice what happens when comfort becomes our highest value. Because when comfort becomes the goal of life, every difficult thing begins to look like an enemy. Discipline feels like oppression. Solitude feels like punishment. Truth feels like cruelty. Responsibility feels like a burden. Growth feels like violence against the self, and slowly a person may begin to organize their whole life around avoiding discomfort. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid honest self-examination. They avoid silence. They avoid risk. They avoid the kind of work that would actually change them. They avoid the pain of becoming. And then, quietly, they begin to wonder why they feel empty. Nietzsche would say that a life without suffering is not necessarily a beautiful life. It may simply be a shallow one, because depth often requires resistance. A muscle does not grow without tension. A mind does not sharpen without difficulty. A soul does not become strong by being protected from every storm. Something in us needs resistance in order to take shape. This does not mean we should seek pain for its own sake. It means that when pain arrives, we should not immediately assume it has nothing to teach us. Nietzsche wants us to ask a harder question. Not only, how do I make this disappear, but what can I become through this? Not only, why is life doing this to me, but how can I use even this? This is one of the deepest differences between weakness and strength in Nietzsche's thought. The weaker spirit experiences suffering and says, "Because I suffer, life is guilty." The stronger spirit experiences suffering and asks, "What can I create from this?" The weaker spirit uses pain to justify resentment. The stronger spirit turns pain into transformation. This does not make the wound pleasant. It does not erase grief. It does not turn tragedy into something easy, but it refuses to let suffering have the final word. And that refusal is central to Nietzsche. He does not want human beings to become passive victims of their pain. He wants them to become artists of it, to take chaos and give it shape, to take loneliness and turn it into self-knowledge, to take failure and turn it into strength, to take humiliation and turn it into honesty, to take fear and turn it into courage. This is also why Nietzsche was suspicious of pity when pity makes people smaller. He feared comfort when comfort makes people weaker. He feared moral systems that teach people to build an identity around their wounds. Because once suffering becomes your identity, you may begin to protect it. You may begin to need it. You may begin to fear the person you would have to become if you were no longer defined by your pain. Nietzsche wants something more dangerous than comfort. He wants transformation, and transformation is rarely painless. To become stronger, something weaker in us often has to die. An illusion, a dependency, a borrowed dream, a false hope. A version of ourselves that once helped us survive, but can no longer lead us forward. This is why suffering so often appears at the doorway of change. A loss may reveal what we were attached to. A failure may reveal what we were pretending to be. A rejection may reveal how much of our identity depended on approval. A period of loneliness may reveal how little we actually know ourselves. Pain interrupts the story, and in that interruption, something can be seen. This is why Nietzsche's question is so unsettling. Can you love truth if it costs you comfort? Can you love freedom if it costs you belonging? Can you love growth if it costs you the old version of yourself? Can you love life deeply enough to accept that becoming stronger may require suffering? This is not an easy philosophy. It is not soft, but it speaks to something many people know quietly. That the most important changes in their lives did not come from comfort. They came from the moments they did not choose, the ending they did not want, the silence they could not escape, the failure that exposed them, the loneliness that forced them inward, the pain that made the old life impossible. Nietzsche would not say these moments are automatically good, but he would ask whether they can be transformed, because if suffering cannot be transformed, pain remains only pain. But if suffering can be shaped, even the darkest parts of life can become part of a larger strength. This is where Nietzsche's idea becomes almost artistic. A great person for him is not someone who has been spared. A great person is someone who can take what happens, even what hurts, and give it form. They do not merely endure life, they compose it. They do not simply survive their wounds, they make something from them. This is why Nietzsche's wisdom is not the avoidance of suffering. It is the ability to say slowly and honestly, I will use this too, not immediately, not cheaply, not as a slogan, but over time. I will use this too. The illness, the failure, the rejection, the loneliness, the confusion, the years that seemed wasted, the parts of myself I wish I did not have. I will not pretend they did not happen. I will not worship them. I will not let them become excuses, but I will not waste them. I will make them part of what I become. This is the beginning of self-overcoming, not the denial of pain, not the glorification of pain, but the transformation of pain. And once we understand this, we can also understand why Nietzsche was so suspicious of comfort, because comfort can be kind, but comfort can also become a cage. It can give us rest, but it can also teach us to fear intensity. It can protect us from danger, but it can also protect us from growth. And this leads us to one of Nietzsche's most haunting visions. A human being who no longer suffers deeply, but also no longer lives deeply. A person who wants safety more than greatness, pleasure more than transformation, comfort more than becoming. Nietzsche called this figure the last man. And to understand why he feared him so much, we have to enter one of the darkest warnings in his philosophy, the nightmare of a world where people are calm, comfortable, entertained, and almost completely asleep. Chapter 4. The Last Man. What if the greatest danger to the human soul is not suffering? What if the greatest danger is comfort, not the comfort that helps us rest after pain, not the peace we need in order to heal, but the kind of comfort that slowly makes us smaller, the kind of comfort that removes risk, removes depth, removes hunger, removes the desire to become anything greater than we already are. This was one of Nietzsche's darkest fears. He imagined a future human being who no longer wanted greatness, no longer wanted danger, no longer wanted transformation. A human being who only wanted to be safe, entertained, comfortable, and undisturbed. Nietzsche called this person the last man. And the frightening thing about the last man is that he does not look like a monster. He does not look evil. He does not look cruel. He looks normal, reasonable, adjusted, like someone who has learned how to live without asking too many painful questions. The last man does not want to suffer, but he also does not want to grow. He does not want deep love, because deep love is dangerous. He does not want deep truth, because truth can destroy comfort. He does not want deep freedom, because freedom requires responsibility. He does not want greatness, because greatness demands sacrifice. He wants small pleasures, small routines, small opinions, small ambitions. A life without too much pain, too much silence, too much risk, too much self-examination. And Nietzsche found this terrifying, not because happiness is bad, not because peace is bad, not because ordinary life is worthless, but because a person can slowly trade the possibility of becoming more alive for the safety of becoming less disturbed. The last man does not say, "I want to become stronger." He says, "I want to be comfortable." He does not say, "I want to know the truth." He says, "I do not want to be upset." He does not say, "I want to create values." He says, "I want to fit in." He does not say, "I want to become who I am." He says, "I just want to be happy." But for Nietzsche, happiness without depth can become another form of sleep, a warm prison, a soft cage, a life that feels pleasant enough on the surface but slowly quiets something essential underneath. This is why the last man feels so modern. He belongs to a world of endless distraction, a world where every uncomfortable feeling can be interrupted, a world where silence is rare, a world where boredom almost disappears, a world where people can be entertained for hours without ever feeling nourished. Comfort is everywhere. Meaning is harder to find. The last man may have a good job, a safe home, a pleasant routine, food, technology, entertainment, approval, a life that looks fine from the outside, maybe even successful, but something inside him has gone quiet. The old hunger has faded. The hunger to create, the hunger to risk, the hunger to think deeply, the hunger to become. He still wants things, but he does not know whether those things are truly his. He still makes choices, but most of them are safe. He still has opinions, but many of them are borrowed. He still seeks pleasure, but pleasure no longer opens into meaning. He is not in obvious despair. That is what makes him difficult to recognize. He may laugh, he may work, he may socialize, he may plan his future, he may call himself realistic, he may call himself balanced, he may even call himself happy. But Nietzsche would ask a darker question. Is he alive, or has he simply learned how to avoid everything that might awaken him? The last man is dangerous because his life does not look like a crisis. There is no collapse, no visible prison, no dramatic tragedy, only a slow shrinking of the soul, a quiet lowering of expectations, a hidden agreement to want less, not necessarily less money, not fewer pleasures, but less depth, less intensity, less responsibility, less greatness, less becoming. This is the nightmare of comfort, not that comfort destroys us violently, but that it can teach us to prefer safety to life. It can make every difficulty feel like a threat, every silence feel like emptiness, every loneliness feel like failure, every demand for discipline feel like cruelty, every call to become stronger feel like an attack on who we are. And slowly, a person may begin to protect their weakness as if it were their identity. They say, "This is just who I am." They confuse peace with avoidance, self-acceptance with surrender, comfort with freedom. But comfort and freedom are not the same. A person can be comfortable and still be deeply unfree. Unfree from fear, unfree from approval, unfree from habit, unfree from distraction, unfree from the need to be constantly entertained, unfree from the quiet terror of being alone with themselves. Nietzsche's last man is not enslaved by chains, he is enslaved by smallness, by the belief that nothing is worth great effort, nothing is worth great suffering, nothing is worth standing alone for, nothing is worth sacrificing the pleasant life And this is why Nietzsche places the last man against the possibility of a higher human being. The higher human being is not necessarily famous, not necessarily rich, not necessarily powerful in the ordinary sense. The higher human being is someone who is still capable of longing, still capable of discipline, still capable of solitude, still capable of creating values, still capable of saying yes to something difficult. The last man cannot do this. He looks at anything noble, tragic, dangerous, or great, and does not understand why anyone would want it. Why suffer? Why risk? Why stand apart? Why not just enjoy life? On the surface, these questions sound reasonable, but underneath them, Nietzsche hears fear, fear of intensity, fear of depth, fear of responsibility, fear of becoming responsible for one's own life. Because to want greatness is to accept the possibility of pain. To want truth is to risk losing illusions. To want freedom is to accept loneliness. To want creation is to accept failure. The last man wants none of this. He wants the rewards of life without the danger of life, pleasure without vulnerability, freedom without burden, comfort without emptiness, happiness without transformation. But Nietzsche does not believe such a life can satisfy the deepest parts of us. Something in the human being wants to overcome, something wants resistance, something wants to test itself, something wants to transform chaos into form, something wants to say, I became more than I was. If that part is ignored for too long, it does not disappear. It becomes restlessness, numbness, quiet resentment, the strange sadness of a life where nothing is obviously wrong, but something still feels incomplete. This is why so many modern people can recognize themselves in Nietzsche's warning. They are not starving. They are not trapped in the old ways. They are not without options, and yet something feels missing. They feel stimulated and empty, connected and lonely, free and directionless, comfortable and strangely tired. Nietzsche's last man gives a name to this condition. He is the person who has solved many external problems, but lost contact with the inner demand to become. He has avoided suffering, but also avoided transformation. He has protected himself from wounds, but also from greatness. He has made life safe, but not meaningful. And this is Nietzsche's warning. Do not confuse the absence of pain with the presence of life. Do not confuse entertainment with joy. Do not confuse approval with selfhood. Do not confuse comfort with freedom. Do not confuse a life that looks fine from the outside with a life that is truly yours. The last man is not a stranger. He is a possibility inside all of us. He appears whenever we choose the easier lie over the harder truth, whenever we choose belonging over becoming, whenever we choose distraction over silence, whenever we choose comfort over growth, whenever we stop asking what we could become and only ask how we can remain undisturbed. This is why Nietzsche's warning is so uncomfortable, because the last man is not only a future society. He is a temptation to lower the soul's demands, a temptation to stop reaching, a temptation to call smallness wisdom, a temptation to call fear peace, a temptation to call sleep happiness. And once we understand this, Nietzsche's next question becomes even more dangerous. If comfort can make us small, then we must ask what happens when the old sources of meaning collapse completely. What happens when the old answers stop working? What happens when people still use words like good, evil, purpose, truth, and morality, but no longer know what stands beneath them? This is the crisis Nietzsche named with his most famous sentence, "God is dead." Chapter 5. God is Dead. What happens when the old answers stop working? What happens when people still repeat the words good, evil, truth, purpose, morality, but no longer feel the ground beneath them? This was the crisis Nietzsche saw before many others were willing to name it. And he gave that crisis one of the most famous and most misunderstood sentences in modern philosophy: God is dead. At first, the sentence sounds like an attack on religion, a philosopher rejecting faith, a modern thinker declaring that belief is over, a phrase designed to shock people. But Nietzsche was not simply trying to shock. He was not merely saying that one belief had become false. He was saying that an entire structure of meaning was collapsing. For centuries, Western life had been held inside a sacred order. There was a God above the world, a moral law beyond human opinion, a purpose greater than individual desire, a final answer to the question of how one should live. Suffering had a place, sacrifice had a place, goodness had a place, evil had a place. Human life was not floating in emptiness, it belonged to a story. But Nietzsche looked at the modern world and saw that this story was losing its power. Science had changed the way people understood nature. History had changed the way people understood religion. Modern cities, machines, politics, education, and new forms of knowledge had changed the way people understood themselves. The old world had not disappeared all at once. Churches still stood, moral language still remained, people still spoke of right and wrong, duty, virtue, sin, truth, goodness. But something underneath had weakened. The words were still there, the rituals were still there, the habits were still there, but the old certainty was fading, and for Nietzsche, this was not a small cultural change. It was a spiritual earthquake, because if the highest source of meaning loses its authority, then everything built upon it begins to tremble. If God is dead, who tells us what is good? Who tells us what is evil? Who tells us why suffering matters? Who tells us what kind of person we should become? Who tells us what life is for? This is why Nietzsche's sentence is so dark. He was not celebrating like someone who had simply escaped an old prison. He was standing among ruins. And he was asking whether human beings understood what had happened, because the death of God does not immediately create freedom. At first, it creates emptiness, a frightening openness, a world where the old answers no longer command belief, but new answers have not yet been created. This is the dangerous space Nietzsche saw opening beneath modern life. People had begun to lose faith in old sources of meaning, but they had not yet become strong enough to create new ones. They still wanted purpose. They still wanted morality. They still wanted truth. They still wanted to know how to live. But the foundation beneath their answers was disappearing. Imagine a person who has lived their whole life inside a house. The house gave shelter. It gave walls. It gave rooms. It told them where things belonged. It limited them, but it also protected them. Then one day, the walls collapse. For a moment, there is freedom. The sky is open. The horizon is wide. There are no more walls. But then comes the cold, because the same walls that confined them also gave shape to their world. Now they must decide where to go. They must build. They must choose. They must create direction without being handed one. This is the deeper meaning of God is dead. The old house of meaning has fallen, and modern humanity is standing in the open air, pretending not to be cold. Nietzsche believed that many people would try to avoid this coldness. Some would continue using the old moral language even after losing the faith that once gave it life. They would still say good and evil, right and wrong, duty and virtue, but they would no longer know exactly where those words came from. Others would replace religion with politics, with the nation, with the state, with revolution, with ideology, with the future. They would no longer kneel before heaven, but they would still need something absolute to kneel before. Others would escape into comfort. They would avoid the question entirely. They would work, consume, scroll, laugh, argue, achieve, distract themselves, not because they had solved the problem of meaning, but because they had learned how not to hear it. Nietzsche saw that when old beliefs collapse, human beings do not automatically become free, rational, and strong. Often they become restless, anxious, cynical, hungry for certainty, hungry for belonging, vulnerable to any voice that promises to give life a simple shape again. This is why God is dead is not only a statement about religion. It is a warning about what human beings do when meaning disappears, because people cannot live without values. Even when they say they believe in nothing, their lives still reveal what they worship. Some worship success, some worship comfort, some worship pleasure, some worship public approval, some worship intelligence, some worship beauty, some worship rebellion, some worship victimhood, some worship being right, some worship the feeling of being on the side of good. The question is not whether we have values. We all have values. The question is whether we created them consciously or inherited them without knowing it. The death of God means that the old source of value has lost its unquestioned authority. But it does not mean that value disappears. It means that value becomes a human task. And this is where Nietzsche becomes frightening, because most people do not want that task. They want freedom, but not the burden of creating meaning. They want independence, but not the loneliness of responsibility. They want to reject old authorities, but still be told what to admire, what to condemn, what to desire, and what to become. They want to say no to the old world, but they do not yet know how to say yes to a new one. This is one of Nietzsche's deepest criticisms of modern life. Modern people celebrate freedom while secretly longing for permission. They celebrate individuality while copying the desires of the crowd. They celebrate choice while fearing the responsibility of choosing. They want to be free from old meanings, but they are not always strong enough to create new meanings. And when this happens, nihilism begins. Nihilism is not always dramatic despair. It is not always someone staring into darkness and deciding that life is pointless. Sometimes nihilism looks ordinary. It looks like endless distraction. It looks like irony. It looks like being too clever to believe in anything and too tired to create anything new. It looks like chasing success without knowing why success matters. It looks like laughing at everything because nothing feels sacred anymore. It looks like having many options but no direction, entertainment but no nourishment, comfort but no life. This is why Nietzsche feels so close to the modern world. Many people today are not crushed by too much belief. They are exhausted by too little meaning. They have more information than ever but less wisdom, more comfort than ever but less strength, more connection than ever but less solitude, more freedom than ever but less idea what freedom is for. Nietzsche's warning is that a world without old meaning does not automatically become a world of strong individuals. It can become a world of passive people searching for distraction, a world of people who no longer believe deeply enough to sacrifice. but are not strong enough to create. A world of people who laugh at the old gods, while quietly kneeling before smaller ones. Comfort, status, entertainment, approval, security, the crowd. For Nietzsche, the death of God was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of the most dangerous question. If the old values have collapsed, who will create new ones? If the old meaning no longer holds, what kind of person is strong enough to give life meaning again? If the universe does not hand us a purpose, can we become the kind of beings who create purpose? This is why Nietzsche is not simply a philosopher of destruction. He does destroy. He destroys illusions, inherited certainties, easy morality, the comforting belief that life will explain itself for us. But destruction is not his final goal. His final question is creation. What can be created after the collapse? What kind of human being can stand in the emptiness and not run away? What kind of human being can lose old answers without becoming cynical? What kind of human being can face a silent universe and still say yes to life? This is the challenge Nietzsche leaves us with. Do not simply inherit meaning. Do not simply repeat values you no longer understand. Do not simply replace one God with another, smaller God. Do not simply distract yourself from the emptiness. Look at it, stand inside it, feel the coldness of it, and then ask what you are strong enough to create. Because the death of God is not only a tragedy, it is also a doorway, a dangerous doorway. Behind us are the old certainties. In front of us is nihilism. And beyond nihilism, Nietzsche sees another possibility. The possibility that the human being is not finished. The possibility that we are not here merely to obey old meanings. The possibility that we can become creators of value. But before creation becomes possible, we must first understand the emptiness itself. The quiet emptiness beneath modern life, the feeling that nothing is obviously wrong, and yet something essential has disappeared. This is the condition Nietzsche feared most, nihilism. Chapter 6. Nihilism. Nihilism does not always arrive like darkness. It does not always look like despair. It does not always look like a person lying awake at night, wondering whether life has any meaning. Sometimes nihilism looks normal. Sometimes it looks productive. Sometimes it looks intelligent. Sometimes it looks like someone doing everything right, but no longer knowing why any of it matters. This is what makes nihilism so dangerous. It can hide inside ordinary life, inside work, inside entertainment, inside success, inside ambition, inside irony, even inside happiness. A person can be busy and nihilistic, successful and nihilistic, surrounded by people and nihilistic. A person can laugh, consume, travel, post, achieve, and still feel that nothing touches the deepest part of them. For Nietzsche, nihilism was not simply the belief that nothing matters. It was the condition that appears when the highest values lose their power. The old meanings no longer feel alive. The old beliefs no longer command the soul. The old answers are still repeated, but they no longer move us. And when this happens, life does not necessarily stop. People keep going, they keep working, they keep speaking, they keep buying, and they keep scrolling, they keep planning, they keep smiling, but underneath the motion something becomes weightless. The world continues, but the why begins to disappear. This was the danger Nietzsche saw beneath modern life. Not that people would suddenly rebel against meaning, but that they would slowly lose the ability to believe in anything deeply. Too skeptical to believe, too distracted to think, too comfortable to suffer well, too ironic to commit, too tired to create, and this is why nihilism is often quiet. It is the quiet feeling that nothing is truly worth the whole of you, the quiet suspicion that your goals are not really yours, the quiet exhaustion that comes from chasing things that satisfy you for a moment but never give your life direction, the quiet emptiness beneath constant stimulation, the quiet question that returns after every achievement. Is this all? Nietzsche understood that once old values collapse, human beings do not automatically become free creators. Many become passive. They wait for meaning to arrive. They wait for something to feel real. They wait for the world to give them a reason. But Nietzsche believed that modern people could no longer simply wait for meaning. If the old sources of meaning have lost their authority, then meaning becomes a task, a burden, a creative act. And this is where many people become afraid, because it is easier to distract yourself than to create values, easier to mock everything than to believe in something, easier to call life meaningless than to take responsibility for giving your life form, easier to be clever than committed, easier to be cynical than brave. Nietzsche was deeply suspicious of cynicism. Cynicism can look like intelligence. It can sound sophisticated. It can make a person feel superior to those who still believe, still hope, still love, still try. But often cynicism is not strength, it is disappointed faith, a wound pretending to be wisdom, a person saying nothing matters because the things they once trusted failed them. Nietzsche did not want this kind of emptiness. He did not want people to become cold observers of life, standing outside existence, judging everything, risking nothing, creating nothing. He wanted something much harder. He wanted human beings who could pass through nihilism without being consumed by it. Because for Nietzsche, nihilism was both a danger and a passage. It was dangerous because it could make people passive, bitter, empty, and small. But it was also a passage because the collapse of old values could clear the ground for the creation of new ones. The question was whether a person had the strength to continue, not to return to old beliefs just because they were comforting, not to drown in despair because the old beliefs had collapsed, but to move forward, to create, to choose, to give form to life. Nietzsche saw two broad responses to nihilism: passive nihilism and active nihilism. Passive nihilism says, nothing has meaning, so why try? It withdraws. It numbs itself. It avoids intensity. It seeks comfort. It becomes tired of life without ever fully confronting life. Passive nihilism does not always look sad. Sometimes it looks like endless entertainment. Sometimes it looks like living only for the weekend. Sometimes it looks like scrolling until the mind becomes quiet. Sometimes it looks like avoiding every serious question because seriousness feels too heavy. Sometimes it sounds like, it is what it is, but underneath, it means, I no longer have the strength to care. Passive nihilism is not only despair, it is surrender, the shrinking of desire, the slow death of the soul's demand for meaning. Active nihilism is different. Active nihilism says, if the old values are dead, let them die. If the old idols have lost their power, let them fall. If inherited meanings no longer live, do not pretend. Clear the ground, make space. But active nihilism is only valuable if it leads to creation. Destruction alone is not enough. Anyone can destroy. Anyone can criticize, anyone can expose hypocrisy, anyone can laugh at old beliefs, anyone can say that nothing matters. But Nietzsche asks a more difficult question. After the destruction, what can you create? This is the decisive question. Because many people mistake rebellion for freedom. They reject religion, tradition, family, society, morality, authority, and the expectations of others. But after rejecting everything, they do not become free. They become empty. Their identity remains dependent on what they oppose. They are still controlled by the thing they hate. Nietzsche wants something beyond rebellion. He wants creation, a person who does not merely say no to old values, but learns how to say yes to new ones. A person who does not merely escape inherited meaning, but becomes strong enough to give meaning to life. This is why nihilism is such a central problem for Nietzsche. It is the great test of the modern soul. What do you do when the old answers no longer work? Do you become numb? Do you become cynical? Do you become obedient to a new crowd? Do you lose yourself in pleasure? Do you replace one dead god with a smaller one, or do you become the kind of person who can create? This question is not abstract. It belongs to everyday life. It appears when someone wakes up and realizes they are living a life they never truly chose. It appears when success arrives, but meaning does not. It appears when someone loses faith in the goals they spent years chasing. It appears when freedom becomes exhausting. It appears when nothing is obviously wrong, but nothing feels deeply right. This is nihilism beneath modern life. Not the absence of activity, the absence of meaning inside activity, not the absence of pleasure, the inability of pleasure to become purpose, not the absence of freedom. The inability to know what freedom is for. Nietzsche believed that modern humanity would have to face this crisis honestly, because pretending does not solve nihilism. Entertainment does not solve it. Success does not solve it. Approval does not solve it. Comfort does not solve it. Even intelligence does not solve it. A person can understand many things and still have no reason to live deeply. For Nietzsche, the answer to nihilism is not more information, it is transformation. The person must become capable of creating values, capable of saying yes to life without needing life to be easy, capable of choosing a direction without being handed certainty, capable of turning suffering into strength, freedom into responsibility, emptiness into a space for creation. This is why nihilism is not only a problem to solve with thought, it is a condition to overcome with existence. You do not defeat nihilism only by arguing against it, you defeat it by becoming the kind of person for whom life becomes worth affirming. And that is much harder. It requires discipline, honesty, solitude, the courage to stop hiding behind borrowed meanings, the courage to ask which values are truly yours, the courage to build a life that can carry the weight of your own soul. Nietzsche knew that many people would not want this. They would prefer easier escapes, comfort, the crowd, old answers, new idols, distraction. Because creation is difficult. Creation requires responsibility. Creation requires the possibility of failure. Creation requires standing alone long enough to hear what your life is asking of you. But if we cannot do this, Nietzsche warns, nihilism will not disappear. It will simply change its costume. It will become entertainment, politics, moral performance, status, the endless search for something outside ourselves to give us the meaning we are afraid to create. And this is why Nietzsche's warning still feels so close. Modern life is full of motion, but not always full of direction, full of voices, but not always full of wisdom, full of choices, but not always full of commitment, full of comfort, but not always full of life. Nihilism is the quiet danger beneath all of this. The danger that does not announce itself, the danger that does not always hurt enough to make us change, the danger that lets us keep functioning while something essential slowly fades. Nietzsche does not want us to remain there. He wants us to pass through the emptiness without worshipping it. He wants us to see that the collapse of old meaning is not the end of the human story. It is the beginning of a more difficult demand. If meaning is no longer given, it must be created. If values are no longer inherited, they must be chosen. If life no longer explains itself, we must become strong enough to give it form. But before Nietzsche can show us what creation means, he turns to an even more uncomfortable question. If our old values are collapsing, where did those values come from in the first place? Were they born from strength or from weakness? Were they born from love of life or from resentment against it? This is where Nietzsche turns from nihilism to morality itself, and the question becomes darker. What if some of our highest virtues are not as innocent as they appear? Chapter 7. Slave Morality. What if some of the things we call goodness are not as innocent as they appear? What if certain virtues are not born from love, but from resentment? What if some moral systems do not begin with strength, generosity, or truth, but with the quiet desire to make strength feel guilty for existing? This is one of Nietzsche's most uncomfortable ideas, and one of his most easily misunderstood. When Nietzsche speaks about master morality and slave morality, he is not simply saying that some people should dominate others. He is not offering a simple political theory. He is not asking us to worship cruelty. He is doing something more psychological and more dangerous. He is asking where our moral values come from. He is asking what kind of soul creates them. He is asking whether our ideas of good and evil are always as pure as we pretend. For most of us, morality feels obvious. Kindness is good. Cruelty is bad, humility is good, pride is dangerous, selflessness is noble, power is suspicious, compassion is beautiful, ambition must be watched carefully, but Nietzsche does not begin by accepting these values. He asks a deeper question. Who benefits from calling these things good? Who decided that humility was better than pride? Who decided that obedience was better than strength? Who decided that meekness was morally superior to power? Who decided that suffering makes a person pure? Who decided that weakness is closer to goodness than strength? These questions are disturbing because they do not attack one moral rule. They ask about the origin of morality itself. Nietzsche believed that there are different ways human beings create values. One way begins from strength. A person or culture feels full of life, power, confidence, creativity, courage, abundance. They do not begin by asking, "What am I against?" They begin with affirmation. They say yes to themselves. They call good whatever expresses vitality, nobility, courage, excellence, honesty, and the ability to create. This is what Nietzsche calls master morality. The word master can be misleading. It does not simply mean a person who controls others. At its deepest level, it means a person or a culture that creates values from a feeling of fullness. Good means noble. Good means powerful. Good means life-enhancing. Good means the expression of a strong soul. Bad in this older sense does not necessarily mean evil. It means common, low, weak, unformed, lacking distinction. But Nietzsche believed that another kind of morality emerged from a very different psychological place, not from fullness, but from injury, not from strength, but from resentment, not from the direct affirmation of life, but from the inability to act directly. This is what he calls slave morality. Slave morality begins with a person who feels powerless. They cannot defeat the strong openly. They cannot express their anger directly. They cannot act with the same force as those they envy or fear. So their revenge becomes moral. They do not say, "I am weak." They say, "Weakness is goodness." They do not say, "I am afraid." They say, "Humility is virtue." They do not say, "I resent your power." They say, "Your power is evil." This is Nietzsche's disturbing claim. Some moral values, he argues, may have been created by people who could not act outwardly, so they turned inward. They transformed their suffering into judgment. Their revenge was not physical, it was spiritual. They changed the meaning of good and evil. The strong became evil, the weak became good, power became guilt, confidence became pride, obedience became virtue, suffering became purity, and resentment learned to speak the language of morality. This is why Nietzsche's idea is so dangerous. He is not only criticizing what people do, he is criticizing the hidden emotions behind what people call good. He is asking whether morality can sometimes become a mask for revenge. Not always, not in every case. Nietzsche is not saying that kindness is always weakness. He is not saying compassion is always resentment. He is not saying humility is always false. That would be too simple. His question is more unsettling. When you call something good, from what part of you does that judgment come? Does it come from strength or from fear? Does it come from love or from resentment? Does it come from abundance or from the desire to make others feel guilty for having what you do not? This is where Nietzsche becomes deeply psychological. He knows that human beings often hide their motives even from themselves. We rarely say, "I envy you." We say, "You are arrogant." We rarely say, "Your strength makes me feel small." We say, "Strength is dangerous." We rarely say, "I am afraid to pursue greatness." We say, "Greatness is selfish." This does not mean every moral criticism is false. Sometimes power really is cruel. Sometimes ambition really is corrupt. Sometimes pride really does blind the soul. Nietzsche knows this. But he wants us to notice how easily moral language can become a hiding place. A person can use morality to seek justice, but a person can also use morality to disguise revenge. A person can use compassion to help the suffering, but a person can also use compassion to keep people weak. A person can use humility to become more truthful, but a person can also use humility to avoid the risk of becoming visible. This is the uncomfortable edge of Nietzsche's thought. He forces us to ask whether some of our highest values are mixed with darker motives. And if we are honest, this question does not only apply to society, it applies to us, to the judgments we make quietly, the people we secretly resent, the success we pretend not to care about, the courage we dismiss as arrogance, the discipline we call obsession, the ambition we call ego. Sometimes we criticize something because it is truly wrong, but sometimes we criticize it because it reminds us of what we have not dared to become. Nietzsche wants us to see that resentment is creative. It creates stories, explanations, moral judgments, a world in which our own weakness can appear noble. This is why he uses the word resentiment. Resentiment is not ordinary anger. Ordinary anger can be direct. It can rise, act, and pass. Resentment is anger that cannot act, anger trapped inside, anger that waits, anger that becomes clever, anger that turns into a moral system. It does not say, "I want revenge." It says, "Justice must be done." It does not say, "I hate what I cannot become." It says, "What I cannot become is evil." This is why slave morality is so powerful. It gives suffering a strange kind of power. It allows the wounded person to feel morally higher than the person they resent. It turns powerlessness into virtue, inability into purity, revenge into righteousness. And once this happens, the person may not even know they are resentful. They may sincerely believe they are defending goodness. This is what makes Nietzsche's critique so painful. He is not only saying that people lie to others, he is saying that people lie to themselves most of all. And this is where Nietzsche becomes relevant to modern life, because resentment has not disappeared. It has only changed costume. It can appear in politics, religion, social media, friendships, families, even in the language of healing, kindness, justice, and self-care. Sometimes people do not want others to become better. They want them to become less threatening. Sometimes people do not want compassion. They want control disguised as compassion. Sometimes people do not want truth. They want a moral language that protects them from truth. Nietzsche is dangerous because he makes these possibilities visible, but we have to be careful. His critique can be misused. It can be twisted into contempt for the vulnerable. It can be used by arrogant people to dismiss compassion. It can be used by cruel people to call their cruelty strength. That is not the best reading of Nietzsche. The real challenge is not to become cruel. The real challenge is to become honest. Honest about where our values come from. Honest about whether our goodness makes life stronger or weaker. Honest about whether our compassion empowers people or keeps them dependent. Honest about whether our humility is truth or fear. Honest about whether our criticism comes from justice or envy. For Nietzsche, the problem with slave morality is not that it protects the weak. The problem is that it can turn weakness into a moral weapon. It can make strength feel guilty for existing. It can make greatness appear evil. It can make life itself seem morally suspicious. And when that happens, morality no longer helps human beings become stronger, deeper, or more alive. It teaches them to shrink. It teaches them to suspect vitality. It teaches them to call fear goodness, resentment justice, inability virtue. Nietzsche wants to break this spell. He wants to ask what morality would look like if it came from strength instead of resentment. What would kindness look like if it came from abundance rather than fear? What would humility look like if it came from self-knowledge rather than weakness? What would compassion look like if it made people stronger instead of keeping them small? What would goodness look like if it were not the enemy of greatness? These are the questions that make Nietzsche so uncomfortable and so necessary, because he does not let us keep our moral self-image untouched. He asks us to look underneath it, to examine the hidden roots, to ask whether our soul is creating from strength or reacting from injury. And this leads directly to one of Nietzsche's most important psychological insights. Human beings are not transparent to themselves. We do not always know why we believe what we believe. We do not always know why we judge what we judge. We wear masks, moral masks, social masks, spiritual masks, even masks we mistake for our true face. And if Nietzsche is right, then the next question becomes unavoidable. How much of what we call ourselves is only a mask? Chapter 8. The Mask. What if the person you call yourself is not completely you? What if much of your identity is not something you discovered, but something you learned to perform? What if your confidence, your humility, your kindness, your ambition, your intelligence, and even your wounds have slowly become masks? This is one of Nietzsche's most unsettling insights. Human beings do not only lie to others, they lie to themselves. And the deepest lies are not always the ones we know we are telling. The deepest lies are the ones that feel like truth. They feel like personality. They feel like morality. They feel like identity. They feel like who we are. Nietzsche understood that the human soul is not transparent to itself. We do not simply look inside and see our motives clearly. We hide from ourselves. We decorate our fears. We rename our weaknesses. We give noble explanations to desires we do not want to admit. We build beautiful stories around uncomfortable truths. And after repeating those stories long enough, we begin to believe them. A person does not usually say, "I am afraid to fail." They say, "I am being realistic." A person does not usually say, "I envy your courage." They say, "You are reckless." A person does not usually say, "I want approval." They say, "I just care about doing the right thing." A person does not usually say, "I am afraid to be alone." They say, "I value loyalty." A person does not usually say, "I have given up." They say, "I have matured." This is the subtlety of the mask. It does not always look fake. Often it looks reasonable, it looks moral, it looks responsible, it looks mature, it looks like the self. But Nietzsche asks us to look again. Where did this identity come from? Are these beliefs truly yours? Are these virtues alive, or are they only costumes? Has the face you show the world slowly replaced the face underneath? For Nietzsche, the mask is not only a social performance, it is also a psychological survival strategy. We wear masks because reality is difficult. We wear masks because desire is dangerous. We wear masks because freedom is frightening. We wear masks because the truth about ourselves may cost us the comfort of our current life. If I admit what I truly want, I may have to change. If I admit what I truly fear, I may lose my image of strength. If I admit that my morality is mixed with resentment, I may lose my image of goodness. If I admit that my kindness is partly a need to be liked, I may have to learn a harder kind of love. So the mask protects us, but it also imprisons us. It helps us survive socially, but it may prevent us from becoming real. This is why Nietzsche's psychology cuts so deeply. He does not only ask, "What do you believe?" He asks, "Why do you need to believe it?" He does not only ask, "What do you want?" He asks, "What does this desire reveal about you?" He does not only ask, "Are you good?" He asks, "What part of you benefits from appearing good?" These questions remove the innocence of self-image. They make it harder to hide behind our own explanations. They reveal that the self is not a simple unity. The self is often a battlefield of instincts, fears, memories, desires, wounds, habits, and inherited voices. And the mask is the story that tries to make this battlefield look peaceful. It says, I am consistent, I am good, I am reasonable, I am in control, I know what I want, I know why I believe what I believe. But underneath, life is more complicated. There may be fear hiding inside politeness, envy hiding inside criticism, weakness hiding inside morality, loneliness hiding inside pride, desire hiding inside discipline, despair hiding inside irony, and a deep need for love hiding inside the performance of independence. Nietzsche does not reveal these things to humiliate us. He reveals them because nothing real can be built on self-deception. A person who does not know their mask cannot remove it. A person who does not know their motives cannot transform them. A person who does not know their fears will continue to call those fears by more respectable names. And a person who never questions their identity may spend their whole life defending a self that was never truly theirs. This is why Nietzsche's thought is dangerous. It does not let us remain innocent in our own eyes. It asks us to become suspicious of the stories we tell about ourselves, not because every story is false, but because the most important truths are often hidden beneath the stories that make us feel safe. The question is not whether we have masks. Everyone has masks. The question is whether we know when we are wearing them. Can you tell the difference between your real kindness and your fear of being disliked? Can you tell the difference between your true discipline and your need to prove your worth? Can you tell the difference between your humility and your fear of being seen? Can you tell the difference between your peace and your avoidance? Can you tell the difference between your identity and your armor? These questions matter because the mask does not only hide us from others, it hides us from becoming. As long as we mistake the mask for the self, we cannot change deeply. We can only improve the performance. We can become more convincing, more successful, more admired, more acceptable, but not necessarily more real. Nietzsche wants something more than a better performance. He wants self-overcoming. And self-overcoming begins when a person becomes honest enough to see the mask without worshipping it, to say, this protected me once, but now it limits me. To say, this identity helped me survive, but now it prevents me from becoming. To say, this virtue may not be as pure as I thought. To say, this fear has been speaking in my voice for too long. This kind of honesty can feel severe, but it is also the beginning of freedom. Because once you see the mask, you are no longer completely possessed by it. You may still wear it. You may still need it sometimes, but now there is distance. Now there is awareness. Now there is a small space between who you are and who you have been pretending to be. And in that space, becoming becomes possible. This is where Nietzsche leads us, from morality to psychology, from society to the self, from the values we inherit to the masks we wear, from the question, what is good, to the deeper question, who am I becoming when I call something good? And once this question appears, it does not easily disappear. It follows us into our relationships, into our ambitions, into our fears, into our private thoughts, into the moments when we are praised, into the moments when we are criticized, into the moments when we feel certain, into the moments when we feel exposed. It asks quietly but relentlessly, is this truly you? Or is this the mask speaking? And if the mask is speaking, another question follows. Who might you become if you stopped obeying it? This is the bridge to Nietzsche's deeper command, because the goal is not merely to remove masks. A person cannot live as pure emptiness. The goal is to create a self strong enough that it no longer needs to hide behind borrowed faces, a self with enough courage to stand alone, a self with enough honesty to face its own motives, a self with enough strength to transform fear into form, a self that does not merely perform life, but lives it. And that brings us to Nietzsche's most intimate and difficult command: become who you are. But now we understand why this command is so hard, because to become who you are, you must first discover how much of what you call yourself is not really yours. Chapter 9. Become who you are. What if the real you is not something waiting to be discovered? What if there is no perfect hidden self buried quietly inside you? What if becoming yourself is not an act of finding, but an act of creation? This is one of Nietzsche's most powerful and most misunderstood ideas. Become who you are. At first, it sounds gentle, almost comforting, almost like something we might hear today in a self-help book. Be yourself, follow your heart, find your true identity, live your truth. But Nietzsche means something far more difficult. For him, becoming who you are does not mean relaxing into whatever you already happen to be. It does not mean trusting every desire just because it appears inside you. It does not mean your current personality is sacred. It does not mean your habits, wounds, fears, and preferences are automatically your deepest truth. Nietzsche does not simply tell us to express ourselves. He asks whether the self we want to express is actually ours. Because after everything we have seen, this question becomes unavoidable. If our values may be inherited, if our morality may be mixed with fear, if our identity may be a mask, then what does it really mean to be yourself? Who is this self? Where did it come from? Was it chosen, or was it quietly assembled by family, culture, pain, approval, fear, habit, and the need to survive? Nietzsche's answer is unsettling. The self is not a finished object. The self is a task. You are not born as a completed soul simply waiting to be revealed. You are born as a field of forces, instincts, fears, desires, memories, wounds, possibilities, contradictions, a chaos that must be shaped. To become who you are is to give form to that chaos. It is to become the artist of your own existence, not in a shallow way, not by designing a lifestyle, not by collecting an aesthetic, not by choosing a personal brand, but by slowly shaping your life into something that could only have come from you. This is why Nietzsche is so different from easy ideas of authenticity. Modern culture often tells us that being authentic means doing what feels natural. But Nietzsche would ask a harder question. What if what feels natural is only what has become familiar? What if your comfort zone feels like your true self, only because you have lived inside it for so long? What if your wounds feel like identity because you have carried them for years? What if your fear feels like wisdom because it has protected you? What if your habits feel like personality because you have repeated them until they became invisible? To become who you are, you may have to become suspicious of what feels most familiar. You may have to ask whether the life that feels natural is truly alive, or only deeply rehearsed. Nietzsche's command is not self-acceptance in the soft sense. It is self-creation, and self-creation requires conflict. It requires saying no. No to inherited values that no longer live. No to masks that have become prisons. No to fears disguised as maturity. No to comfort that keeps the soul asleep. No to the smaller version of yourself that asks only to be protected. But it also requires a yes. Yes to discipline. Yes to responsibility. Yes to creation. Yes to solitude. Yes to the difficult freedom of becoming. This is why becoming yourself is not simply peaceful. It may feel like leaving yourself behind, because some parts of you were formed to survive. They helped you endure, they helped you belong, they helped you avoid pain. They may have been necessary once, but what helps us survive can later prevent us from living. A mask that once protected us may become a cage. A fear that once warned us may become a master. A habit that once gave stability may become a prison. A version of ourselves that once kept us safe may become the very thing we must overcome. This is self-overcoming, not hatred of the self, not violence against the soul, but the willingness to outgrow what has become too small. Nietzsche does not imagine the self as something pure and simple. He sees it as something layered, conflicted, unfinished. To become who you are is not to uncover one final truth and rest there forever. It is to organize the many forces inside you, to give them direction. One part of you wants comfort, another wants greatness, one part wants approval, another wants truth, one part wants safety, another wants freedom, one part wants to remain known, another wants to become something no one can yet understand. The question is not which part is the real you. The question is, which part will lead? This is why Nietzsche's idea is so demanding. He asks us to become responsible for our own formation, not to blame everything on the past, not to hide forever behind wounds, not to let society decide the meaning of our life, not to let the crowd tell us what is worth wanting, not to remain a collection of borrowed desires. He asks us to become composers of the self, to take what is chaotic and give it form, to take what is painful and give it meaning, to take what is inherited and decide whether it should remain, to take what is hidden and bring it into light. This does not happen quickly. No one becomes themselves in a single moment. There is no sudden revelation after which everything becomes clear. Becoming is slow, often quiet, often lonely. It happens through choices no one sees, through the discipline of saying no to what weakens you, through the courage to tell the truth to yourself, through the patience to shape what is unfinished, through the willingness to lose approval when approval costs too much, through the strength to continue when the old self tries to return. This is why Nietzsche's command can feel frightening, because it removes the comfort of excuse. If the self is a task, then we are not only victims of what shaped us. We are also responsible for what we do with it. We did not choose everything that happened to us. We did not choose every wound, every fear, every inheritance, every beginning. But Nietzsche asks what we can create from them. Can the wound become depth? Can fear become discipline? Can loneliness become self-knowledge? Can confusion become a question strong enough to guide us? Can the past become material rather than prison? This is where becoming becomes artistic. The artist does not wait for perfect material. The artist works with what is given. Broken things, strange things, painful things, unfinished things. The artist shapes, arranges, cuts, strengthens, transforms. Nietzsche wants us to become artists of existence, not perfect, not pure, not free of fear, but capable of form, capable of taking the raw material of life and shaping it into something that is truly ours. This is why becoming who you are is not the opposite of discipline. It requires discipline. A person who follows every impulse is not free. They are scattered. A person who obeys every fear is not authentic. They are ruled. A person who calls every habit my truth may only be protecting the old mask. Nietzsche's freedom is not the freedom to remain unformed. It is the freedom to give yourself form, to become a style, a direction, a life with an inner law, not a law handed down from outside, but one created through struggle, honesty, and strength. And this kind of becoming is never finished. There is no final self that ends the task forever. There is only deeper formation, greater honesty, stronger creation, a more complete responsibility for the life one is living. This is why Nietzsche's command is so intimate, because no one else can do it for us. No teacher, no religion, no ideology, no family, no crowd, no lover, no past version of ourselves. No one else can become in our place. There comes a moment when survival is no longer enough. There comes a moment when the question is no longer, how do I avoid pain? The question becomes, what can I become through it? There comes a moment when the question is no longer, who am I? The question becomes, what am I strong enough to create? This is Nietzsche's challenge, and perhaps also his gift. He does not give us comfort. He gives us responsibility. He does not tell us that our lives already have meaning. He asks whether we can become strong enough to give them meaning. And maybe this is why his words still disturb us. Because deep down, many of us know we are not finished. We know there are parts of us that are borrowed, parts that are frightened, parts that are performing, parts that are waiting, parts that have not yet lived. Nietzsche speaks to those parts, not softly, but truthfully. Do not remain a copy. Do not remain a mask. Do not remain the obedient child of dead values. Do not remain the prisoner of comfort. Become who you are, not all at once, not perfectly, not without fear, but deliberately. Shape the chaos, use the wound, question the mask, create values worthy of your life. Because the human being, for Nietzsche, is not an ending. The human being is a bridge between what we have inherited and what we might still become. But every bridge leads away from something, and the moment a person begins to become themselves, they meet one of the strongest forces in human life. The force that pulls them back towards sameness, the force that says, return, be familiar again, be understandable again, be one of us. Nietzsche called this force the herd. Chapter 10. The Herd. What if the hardest part of becoming yourself is not discovering who you are? What if the hardest part is surviving what happens after you stop obeying the crowd? Because the moment a person begins to become themselves, they meet one of the strongest forces Nietzsche ever described, the herd. The herd is not simply other people. It is not simply society. It is not simply tradition, family, religion, politics, or public opinion. The herd is the force that pulls a person back towards sameness. It is the quiet pressure to think what others think, want what others want, admire what others admire, fear what others fear, and call it normal. It is the voice that says, do not go too far, do not become too strange, do not want too much, do not ask questions that make people uncomfortable, do not stand alone, do not become difficult to understand, do not become something the group cannot easily approve of. Nietzsche saw that most people do not fear freedom because they hate freedom. They fear freedom because freedom separates. Freedom removes the protection of the crowd. Freedom asks you to stand in your own name. Freedom asks you to choose without hiding behind what everyone else is doing. And for many people this is unbearable. It is easier to obey than to choose. Easier to belong than to become. Easier to repeat accepted values than to create your own. Easier to be praised for fitting in than misunderstood for growing. This is why the herd is so powerful. It does not always need violence. It does not always need punishment. It often controls people through something much softer. Approval, embarrassment, ridicule, exclusion. The fear of being judged. The fear of being left out. The fear of becoming too different. The fear of no longer being recognized by the people who once knew you. A person may tell themselves they are free, but if they cannot bear disapproval, their freedom is fragile. If they cannot bear being misunderstood, their freedom is conditional. If they cannot bear standing alone, their values may not be truly their own. Nietzsche understood that the herd does not only live outside us, it also lives inside us. It becomes conscience, taste, shame, the voice in our head that asks, what will they think? What will they say? Will they still love me? Will they still respect me? Will I still belong? And once the herd lives inside us, we no longer need to be forced. We police ourselves. We shrink before anyone asks us to shrink. We abandon a thought before speaking it. We lower a desire before pursuing it. We soften a truth before it becomes dangerous. We betray ourselves quietly, and then call it maturity. This is why Nietzsche's idea of the herd is not only social criticism, it is psychological. He wants us to see how deeply the need to belong can shape the self. Many people do not choose their beliefs. They inherit them from the herd. Many people do not choose their ambitions. They borrow them from the herd. Many people do not choose their morality. They absorb it from the herd. Many people do not choose their idea of success. They copy it from the herd. And after enough years, they call this collection of borrowed things their identity. But Nietzsche asks, what would remain if the crowd stopped applauding? What would you believe if no one rewarded you for believing it? What would you desire if no one admired you for wanting it? What would you become if you were no longer trying to be recognizable? These questions are frightening because they reveal how much of the self may be built around social survival. Human beings are social creatures. We need others. We need love, recognition, language, friendship, belonging. Nietzsche does not deny this, but he sees the danger. The same need that makes community possible can also make selfhood impossible. The desire to belong can become stronger than the desire to become, and when that happens, the person does not truly live. They adapt. They become acceptable, understandable, safe, predictable, someone the herd can tolerate. The tragedy is that this can look like a successful life. The person may be praised, respected, considered normal, responsible, balanced, and wise. but inside something may remain unlived, something that wanted more, something that wanted danger, truth, creation, a life that was not merely approved, but truly theirs. Nietzsche's critique of the herd is disturbing because it suggests that many people are not prevented from becoming themselves by enemies. They are prevented by comfort, by approval, by the warmth of belonging, by the ordinary fear of being alone. This is why freedom is frightening. Not because it means doing whatever we want. That is a shallow idea of freedom. Freedom, for Nietzsche, is the ability to take responsibility for becoming. It is the ability to stand apart from inherited values long enough to ask whether they are alive for you. It is the ability to endure solitude without immediately running back to the crowd. It is the ability to create a path without needing everyone to understand it. It is the ability to say, I would rather become myself than remain comfortably approved. But most people do not want freedom at this level. They want permission. They want a version of freedom that still guarantees belonging. They want to be different, but not too different. Authentic, but still admired. Independent, but still protected from loneliness. They want to question the crowd, but not lose the benefits of being accepted by it. Nietzsche would say, this is not yet freedom. It is negotiated obedience, the attempt to become oneself without paying the price. And the price is often solitude, not permanent isolation, not hatred of others, not cold superiority, but the willingness to walk for a while without applause, the willingness to be misunderstood, the willingness to be considered strange, the willingness to let go of the version of yourself that made other people comfortable. This is where Nietzsche is often misunderstood. He is not saying that the individual should despise everyone. He is not saying community has no value. He is not saying love is weakness. He is saying that a person who cannot stand alone cannot truly choose. If your values depend entirely on acceptance, they are not values yet. They are social instincts. If your beliefs disappear the moment they cost you approval, they were not convictions. They were costumes. If your dream dies because the crowd laughs, perhaps it was never strong enough to become yours. This is a harsh thought. But Nietzsche's harshness is meant to awaken something. He wants us to ask whether we have mistaken social safety for truth, whether we have mistaken popularity for value, whether we have mistaken normality for health, whether we have mistaken belonging for meaning. The herd does not always say, be weak. Sometimes it says, be realistic. Sometimes it says, be humble. Sometimes it says, do not make things difficult. Sometimes it says, who do you think you are? Sometimes it says, everyone else is doing fine. Why can't you? Sometimes it says, do not change too much. Because if you change, we may have to question why we stayed the same. This is one of the hidden reasons people resist the becoming of others. When someone begins to change deeply, they become a mirror. Their transformation silently asks questions of everyone around them. Why did you stop? Why did you settle? Why did you choose comfort? Why did you abandon that part of yourself? And because these questions are painful, the herd often tries to pull the person back. Not always with cruelty, sometimes with concern, sometimes with jokes, sometimes with advice, sometimes with moral language, sometimes with the simple pressure of disappointment. But the message underneath is often the same. Return, be familiar again, be understandable again, be who we know how to love. This is why becoming yourself can feel like betrayal. It may feel like betraying the people who shaped you, betraying the values that protected you, betraying the version of yourself others depended on. But sometimes the deepest betrayal is not leaving the herd. Sometimes the deepest betrayal is abandoning the life that was trying to form inside you. Nietzsche does not make this easy. He does not tell us that freedom will always feel beautiful. He knows that becoming can cost us the old warmth of belonging. There is a space between obedience and creation, between the person you were allowed to be and the person you are strong enough to become. And that space is often lonely. But Nietzsche insists it is necessary, because without distance from the herd, there can be no real creation of values. Without solitude, there can be no deep self-knowledge. Without the courage to be misunderstood, there can be no becoming. The herd offers safety, but safety is not the same as life. The herd offers belonging, but belonging is not the same as truth. The herd offers approval, but approval is not the same as freedom, and if Nietzsche teaches us anything here, it is this. The person who wants to become themselves must learn how to stand apart, without becoming bitter, empty, or cruel. They must learn how to carry solitude, because solitude is not merely the punishment for leaving the herd. It is the workshop where a deeper self can begin to form. And that brings us to the next part of Nietzsche's path. If the herd pulls us towards sameness, solitude pulls us toward ourselves. But solitude is dangerous. It can deepen us, or it can poison us. It can make us creators, or it can make us resentful. And so the next question is not simply whether we can leave the crowd. The next question is whether we can survive the silence that comes after. Chapter 11. Solitude. After the herd, there is silence, and at first, that silence can feel frightening, because when the noise of the crowd fades, a person begins to hear things they could once ignore, their doubts, their desires, their fears, their unfinished thoughts, their own life asking to be understood. For Nietzsche, solitude is not simply being alone. Many people are alone, but not truly in solitude. They are alone with distraction, alone with noise, alone with the voices of others still living inside them. True solitude is different. It is the space where the borrowed voices begin to grow quiet, the space where approval no longer speaks so loudly, the space where the self has no audience. And because there is no audience, the performance begins to weaken. This is why solitude can be so uncomfortable. Without the herd, we lose the easy confirmation of who we are. No one is there to tell us that we are right. No one is there to praise us. No one is there to explain us back to ourselves. No one is there to protect us from the deeper question, what remains of me when no one is watching? For Nietzsche, this question is necessary. A person who cannot be alone cannot truly become themselves. Because without solitude, we may never know whether our values are truly ours. We may never know whether our desires are our own. We may never know whether our life is being created from within or copied from without. But solitude is dangerous. Nietzsche knew this. Solitude does not automatically make a person wise, just as suffering does not automatically make a person strong. Everything depends on what happens inside it. Solitude can deepen the soul, but it can also poison it. It can become self-knowledge or self-pity. It can become creation or resentment. It can become discipline or bitterness A lonely person may turn against the world, but a solitary person turns inward, not to escape life, but to hear it more clearly. This is the difference. Loneliness says, I am cut off. Solitude says, I am being formed. Loneliness waits to be rescued. Solitude asks what can be created in the silence. Loneliness becomes emptiness. Solitude can become depth, but only if the person uses it. This is why Nietzsche's solitude is not passive withdrawal. It is not hiding. It is not disappearing from the world because the world is too difficult. It is a workshop, a place where the self is shaped, a place where the chaos begins to find form, a place where a person learns what they can stand without applause, what they can believe without permission, what they can create without being immediately understood. And perhaps this is the real price of becoming. Not that everyone will reject you, not that you must live without love, not that you must despise the world, but that there will be moments when no one can walk the path for you. No one can tell you exactly who to become. No one can remove the burden of choosing. No one can give you a self ready-made. At some point the noise fades, the crowd falls behind, the old identity loosens, the future is still unclear, and you are left with your own life, unfinished, unprotected, unexplained. This is the silence Nietzsche asks us to survive. Because if we cannot survive it, we will return too quickly to the herd. We will return to borrowed values, to the old mask, to the familiar life, not because it is true, but because it is less lonely. But if we remain in solitude long enough, something begins to change. The silence becomes less empty. The solitude becomes less frightening. A quieter voice begins to appear beneath the borrowed ones, not a perfect voice, not a final answer, but a direction, a pressure, a possibility, a sense that life is asking to be shaped, not merely endured. This is where becoming begins to deepen. Solitude teaches a person that they can exist without constant confirmation. They can think without immediate agreement. They can desire without immediate permission. They can change without explaining every change to everyone. They can be misunderstood and still continue. And this strength is essential for everything Nietzsche will ask next. Because a person who cannot endure solitude cannot create values. A person who cannot stand apart cannot overcome themselves. A person who needs constant approval cannot truly be free. Solitude is the price of becoming, because becoming requires a self strong enough to stand without the herd. But once that strength begins to form, Nietzsche's philosophy moves toward a deeper question. What is the force that drives life to grow, overcome, expand, and create? What is the energy that turns suffering into strength, solitude into formation, and chaos into form? Nietzsche calls this force the will to power. But to understand it, we must stop thinking of power only as domination, because for Nietzsche, the highest power is not control over others. It is command over the chaos within yourself. Chapter 12. Will to Power. When most people hear the word power, they think of domination, control, status, victory, the ability to force the world or other people to obey. But Nietzsche's idea of power is deeper than this. For him, power is not only something political, it is not only wealth, not only authority, not only violence, not only success in the eyes of others. The will to power is the force by which life expands, shapes, overcomes, interprets, and creates. It is the energy that says, "Become more, do not remain unformed, do not merely survive, give shape to what is chaotic." For Nietzsche, life is not passive. Life presses outward. It reaches, it tests, it grows through resistance. A plant pushes through soil. A river carves stone. A mind grows by meeting difficulty. A soul deepens when life does not simply obey its wishes. This does not mean suffering is good by itself. It means that resistance is often where form appears. A muscle does not grow without tension. A character does not form without trial. A life does not become deep if nothing ever asks anything of it. The will to power is the energy that meets resistance and does not merely collapse. It learns, it adapts, it transforms, it becomes. This is why Nietzsche's philosophy can feel severe. He is not interested in a life where the highest goal is to avoid all pressure. He wants to know what kind of pressure makes a person greater, what kind of difficulty reveals strength, what kind of obstacle calls forth a deeper self, what kind of pain can be shaped into power. But this idea must be understood carefully. The will to power is not permission to be cruel. It is not an excuse to use people. It is not the celebration of selfishness in a shallow sense. A person who constantly harms others may not be powerful at all. They may be enslaved to impulses they cannot master, ruled by envy, fear, insecurity, revenge. Nietzsche's higher power requires self-command. Without self-command, power becomes only appetite. An appetite is not freedom. A person who cannot control their anger is not powerful. A person who cannot endure solitude is not powerful. A person who cannot tell the truth to themselves is not powerful. A person who needs constant approval is not powerful. A person who must dominate others because they cannot face themselves is not powerful. The deepest power begins inward. It begins with the ability to say no to the weaker parts of oneself, no to the easy escape, no to the familiar lie, no to the comfort that keeps you small, no to the resentment that makes you feel morally superior but prevents you from growing. No to the fear that has been speaking in your voice for too long. But the will to power is not only a number, it is also a yes. Yes to discipline, yes to creation, yes to responsibility, yes to the difficult path, yes to the possibility of becoming more than you were. This is why the will to power is creative. It does not merely tear down old values. It asks what can be built after they fall. It does not merely reject the herd. It asks what kind of self can stand without it. It does not merely expose masks. It asks what kind of face can be formed when the mask is removed. For Nietzsche, the strong person is not the person who has no fear. The strong person is the one who can use fear, not the person who has no suffering, the one who can transform suffering, not the person who has no chaos, the one who can give chaos form. Nietzsche once wrote that one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. This does not mean chaos alone is greatness. Chaos alone can destroy a person. A life without chaos may be too small, but a life ruled by chaos may be too broken. The question is whether chaos can be shaped, whether inner disorder can become style, whether conflict can become creation, whether pain can become depth, whether the self can become something more than a collection of accidents. This is what Nietzsche wants from us. Not obedience, not comfort, not mere survival, but the transformation of inner disorder into form. A person with will to power does not ask only, "How can I be safe?" They ask, "What can I create from what I have been given?" They do not ask only, "How can I avoid pain?" They ask, "What can this pain become?" They do not ask only, "How can I be accepted?" They ask, "What value can I bring into the world, even if I am misunderstood?" They do not ask only, "Who am I?" They ask, "What am I strong enough to become?" This is why the will to power leads naturally to Nietzsche's idea of the creator of values. If life wants to grow, then the highest human being is not the one who merely follows inherited values. It is the one who can create values. Not randomly, not selfishly, not as a childish rebellion, but from strength, from abundance, from a deep yes to life. This is the opposite of resentment. Resentment reacts, power creates. Resentment looks backward. Power gives form to the future. Resentment says, "Because I was wounded, life owes me." Power says, "Because I was wounded, I will become more." Resentment wants to make others smaller. Power wants to make life larger. And this is why Nietzsche's highest vision is not merely a strong individual in the ordinary sense. It is the human being capable of self-creation, a person who can stand after the death of old meanings, a person who can pass through nihilism, a person who can leave the herd, a person who can endure solitude, a person who can command inner chaos, a person who can create values rather than merely inherit them. This is where Nietzsche's philosophy begins to move toward one of its most famous and controversial images, the Übermensch, the one who goes beyond the human being as we know it, the one who does not ask life to become smaller so he can feel safe, the one who becomes larger so he can say yes to life. Chapter 13. Übermensch. What if the highest human being is not the one who dominates others? What if the highest human being is the one who no longer needs permission to create meaning? What if Nietzsche's vision was not about becoming superior to other people, but about overcoming the smaller, weaker, more obedient version of ourselves? This is the idea Nietzsche gives us in the figure of the Übermensch. It is one of the most famous ideas in his philosophy, and also one of the easiest to misunderstand. The word is often translated as Superman, Overman, or the one who goes beyond man. None of these translations are perfect, and if we hear the word too quickly, we may imagine the wrong thing. A tyrant, a conqueror, a person of brute strength, a person who stands above others and demands obedience. But this is not the deepest meaning of the Übermensch. Nietzsche is not giving us a comic book hero. He is not giving us a political ruler. He is not giving us a superior race. He is giving us a symbol, a horizon, an image of what the human being might become after the collapse of old meanings. The Übermensch is the one who creates new values. To understand why this matters, we have to return to Nietzsche's crisis. God is dead. The old foundations have weakened. Inherited morality has become suspect. The herd pulls people towards sameness. Comfort threatens to make us smaller. Nihilism spreads quietly beneath modern life, and the human being is left with a terrible question. If meaning is no longer given from above, who will create it? Most people, Nietzsche believed, are not ready for this task. They still want to be told what is good. They still want to be told what to become. They still want a crowd, a system, a tradition, an ideology, or an authority to carry the burden of meaning for them. They may reject the old gods, but then kneel before new ones. Success, status, comfort, the nation, the movement, the market, the algorithm, the crowd, the self-image, the feeling of being morally right. The Übermensch is Nietzsche's answer to this weakness, not a person who rejects all values, but a person strong enough to create values. Not a person who lives without meaning, but a person who becomes a source of meaning. Not a person who says, nothing is true, so nothing matters, but a person who says, the old values have collapsed, and now I must become responsible for what I affirm. This is why the Übermensch is not merely a rebel. A rebel still depends on what he rejects. His identity is built against something, but the Übermensch must go further. He must not only say no to dead values, he must say yes to created values. He must not only destroy illusions, he must give form to life after the illusions have fallen. This is much harder. Destruction can feel powerful. It can make a person feel awake. It can make a person feel superior to those who still believe. But destruction alone does not create a life. Cynicism is not strength. Rebellion is not freedom. Emptiness is not depth. The Übermensch is the one who can pass through destruction without becoming merely destructive. He can pass through nihilism without becoming nihilistic. He can stand in the absence of old meaning and not collapse into despair, distraction, or resentment. He can create. This is why Nietzsche places the Übermensch against the last man. The last man wants comfort. The Übermensch wants creation. The last man wants safety. The Übermensch accepts danger. The last man wants to avoid suffering. The Übermensch asks what suffering can become. The last man wants small pleasures. The Übermensch wants a life intense enough to be worthy of affirmation. The last man asks, how can I remain undisturbed? The Übermensch asks, what can I become? This contrast is at the heart of Nietzsche's vision. The last man is the endpoint of comfort without greatness. The Übermensch is the horizon of self-overcoming, and between them stands the human being, unfinished, divided, afraid, capable of sinking lower, capable of becoming higher. Nietzsche does not see the human being as a final form. He sees the human being as a bridge between what we have inherited and what we might still create. A bridge between obedience and self-creation. A bridge between old values and the possibility of new ones. A bridge is not a home. A bridge is not a place to rest forever. A bridge is something to cross. For Nietzsche, the human being is a transition, a movement, a becoming, something that must be overcome. This does not mean hatred of humanity. It means dissatisfaction with what humanity has allowed itself to become. Too obedient, too fearful, too reactive, too dependent on the herd, too attached to comfort, too eager to inherit values instead of creating them. The Übermensch represents the possibility of a life that has overcome these weaknesses. A life no longer ruled by resentment, no longer defined by the need for approval, no longer dependent on old certainties, no longer organized around avoiding pain. A life that can say yes to itself. But this yes is not easy. It is not shallow positivity. It is not self-esteem. It is not the modern slogan that you are already enough exactly as you are. Nietzsche's yes must be earned. It comes after suspicion, after destruction, after solitude, after self-overcoming, after the collapse of borrowed meanings, after the painful recognition that much of what we called ourselves was inherited, performed, or afraid. The Übermensch says yes only after passing through the deepest no. No to the herd, no to dead values, no to resentment, no to self-deception, no to comfort as the highest good, no to the mask, no to the smaller self that wants safety more than life. But then comes the yes. Yes to creation, yes to responsibility, yes to becoming, yes to the earth, yes to life as it is, not as we wish it had been. This is why the Übermensch is connected to the earth. Nietzsche does not want us to escape life into another world. He does not want us to despise the body, the senses, suffering, desire, and call that holiness. He wants a philosophy that says yes to this life, this world, this body, this chance, this earth. The Übermensch does not ask life to become pure, painless, safe, or morally simple before affirming it. He affirms life by becoming strong enough to shape it. But even this is not the final test. It is not enough to create values. It is not enough to overcome the herd. It is not enough to command inner chaos. The deepest test is whether a person can affirm life completely, not only the beautiful parts, not only the victories, not only the moments of strength, but the whole of it, the pain, the failure, the loneliness, the mistakes, the losses, the years that seemed wasted. Can a person say yes to all of it? Can a person look at their life exactly as it has been and affirm it so deeply that they would be willing to live it again? This is where Nietzsche gives us his most terrifying thought, the eternal recurrence. Chapter 14. Eternal Recurrence. What if you had to live your life again, not a better version of it, not a cleaner version, not the version where you made the right choice, said the right thing, loved the right person, avoided the wrong mistake, or became yourself sooner? This exact life, every joy, every humiliation, every failure, every wasted year, every lonely night, every wound, every fear, every small moment no one saw, every decision you regret, every person you lost, every version of yourself you wish you could erase, again and again and again, forever. This is Nietzsche's most terrifying test, the eternal recurrence. At first it sounds like a theory about time, as if Nietzsche is asking whether the universe repeats itself endlessly, as if everything that has happened will happen again in exactly the same way. Every life, every event, every word, every thought, every breath. But whether we read it as a cosmic idea or as a psychological experiment, its force is the same. Nietzsche is asking whether you can affirm your life completely, not only the beautiful parts, not only the moments you are proud of, not only the memories you would choose to keep, but the whole of it, the parts you hide, the parts you regret, the parts that still hurt, the parts that made you who you are, even if you never wanted them. Imagine that one night, when you are most alone, a strange voice comes to you. It says, "This life, as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more, and countless times more. Nothing will be new. Every pain will return. Every pleasure will return. Every thought and sigh will return. Every small and great thing in your life will come back to you in the same order. The same childhood, the same losses, the same mistakes, the same loves, the same betrayals, the same fears, the same moments of courage, the same moments of weakness, the same long silences, the same unfinished questions, and then the voice asks, would you curse this message, or would you bless it? This is the heart of eternal recurrence. It asks whether your life is something you merely endure, or something you could one day say yes to. Most people, if they are honest, would not immediately say yes. They would think of the pain, the embarrassment, the grief, the chances they missed, the people they hurt, the people who hurt them, the years they spent confused, the choices they made from fear, the versions of themselves they outgrew too late. To live it all again, exactly the same, would seem unbearable. And that is why the thought is so powerful. It reveals our relationship to our own life, not the life we describe to others, not the life we edit into a clean story, not the life we present with explanations and excuses, but the life as it actually was. The eternal recurrence asks, can you accept this life so deeply that you would not want to remove even the painful parts? This does not mean pretending that suffering was good. It does not mean calling cruelty beautiful. It does not mean denying grief. It does not mean saying that every wound was deserved. Nietzsche is not asking for cheap positivity. He is asking for something much harder. Can you become strong enough to integrate your life? Can you take even what wounded you and make it part of your becoming? Can you stop wishing that your life had begun somewhere else, with someone else, as someone else? Can you stop waiting for a different past? Because many people do not only suffer from what happened, they suffer from their refusal to let what happened belong to them. They carry the past like an accusation. They say, if this had not happened, I would be whole. If I had made that choice, I would be alive. If that person had loved me, I would be complete. If I had not failed, I would be someone else. And perhaps some of this is true. Life does wound us. Life does take things. Life does shape us before we are strong enough to choose. But Nietzsche's question is not whether the past was fair. His question is whether we can become powerful enough that even the past becomes material, not an excuse, not a prison, material, something to be shaped, something to be absorbed, something to be transformed into the form of a life. This is why eternal recurrence connects to everything Nietzsche has already taught us. If suffering is not the enemy, then perhaps even suffering can be used. If nihilism is the danger, then perhaps meaning must be created. If the mask hides us, then perhaps the self must be formed honestly. If the herd pulls us towards sameness, then perhaps we must stand alone. If the will to power is the force of self-overcoming, then perhaps the highest power is the ability to say yes to life without needing life to be different. Eternal recurrence gathers all of this into one question. Would you live this life again? For the last man, this question is almost impossible. The last man wants comfort, ease, small pleasures, small safety, a life without deep disturbance. But eternal recurrence is too heavy for him. He can say yes to comfort. He can say yes to pleasure. He can say yes to the parts of life that do not demand transformation. But he cannot say yes to the whole. For the Creator, the question is different. The Creator does not love suffering because it is pleasant. The Creator loves what can be made from suffering. The Creator does not love the past because it was perfect. The Creator loves the possibility of giving the past a place inside a larger form. The Creator does not ask life to erase every wound. The Creator asks, how can even this become part of my strength? This is why eternal recurrence is not only terrifying, it is clarifying. It shows us what we have not yet accepted. It shows us where we are still divided against our own life. It shows us which memories still rule us. It shows us which regrets still define us. It shows us where we are still waiting for life to apologize before we agree to live. And Nietzsche would say, do not wait. Do not wait for life to become fair before you affirm it. Do not wait for your past to become clean before you use it. Do not wait for suffering to explain itself before you transform it. Do not wait for the world to give you permission to say yes. This yes may take years. It may take a lifetime. It may never be complete. But for Nietzsche, the direction matters. The eternal recurrence is not asking whether you can instantly bless every wound. It is asking whether you can begin moving toward a life you would not curse if it returned. And if the answer is no, then the point is not despair. The point is transformation. If you could not live this life again, then what must change? What must be faced? What must be created? What must be left behind? What must be forgiven? What must finally begin? This is the gift hidden inside the terror. The eternal recurrence does not only judge life, it awakens life. It tells us that every moment is asking to be shaped. Every wound is asking whether it will become poison or power. Every regret is asking whether it will become prison or teacher. Every silence is asking whether it will become emptiness or creation. And every life is asking whether it can be loved deeply enough to be lived fully. This is why eternal recurrence leads naturally to Amor Fati. Because to pass Nietzsche's most terrifying test, we must learn something even harder than endurance. We must learn to love fate. Chapter 15. Amor Fati. What if peace does not come from changing the past? What if peace comes from no longer being at war with the fact that it happened? What if the deepest freedom is not the freedom to escape your fate, but the strength to love it? This is Nietzsche's idea of Amor Fati, love of fate, not tolerance of fate. Not passive acceptance, not pretending that everything was good, not saying that every pain was fair, every loss was deserved, or every wound was necessary in some simple way. Amor Fati means something much more difficult. It means learning to say yes to the whole of life, not only to the beautiful parts, not only to the moments that make sense, not only to the victories, the love, the clarity, the joy, and the days when life feels generous, but also to the parts we would never have chosen, the failure, the illness, the rejection, the loneliness, the humiliation, the mistake, the silence, the years that seemed wasted, the doors that closed, the people who left, the parts of our story that still feel difficult to touch. Nietzsche does not ask us to love these things because they were pleasant. He asks whether we can love life so deeply that even these things are not wasted. This is the heart of Amor Fati. Not that every event is good, but that every event can become part of a life that is transformed. This is not resignation. Resignation says, nothing can be changed, so I give up. Amor Fati says, this happened, this is now part of my life, and I will not let it remain only pain. Resignation is passive, Amor Fati is active. It says, I will change what I can. I will create where I can. I will leave what must be left. I will fight what must be fought. But I will not waste my life hating the fact that this is the material I was given. This distinction matters. Loving fate does not mean loving every event as morally good. It means loving life so deeply that even painful events are not allowed to remain meaningless. It means refusing to let bitterness become the final interpretation of your story. It means taking everything that has happened and asking, how can this be included in a stronger life? This is why Amor Fati is harder than optimism. Optimism says, things will get better. Amor Fati says, even if things do not become what I hoped, I will still become. Optimism says, the future will heal the past. Amor Fati says, I will stop waiting for a different past before I begin to live. Optimism wants reassurance. Amor Fati wants transformation. This is why the idea can feel both beautiful and severe. It offers no guarantee that life will become easy. It does not promise that suffering will explain itself. It does not say the universe is secretly kind. It simply asks whether we can become strong enough to say yes to life without needing life to apologize first. To say yes in this way is not to approve of everything. It is to stop being divided against existence. It is to stop living as if your real life was supposed to happen somewhere else. It is to stop treating your past as proof that your future cannot be formed. Amor Fati says, begin here, with this body, this history, this wound, this temperament, this failure, this inheritance, this moment, this life, not the imagined life, not the cleaner life, not the life where everything happened correctly. This one, that is what makes Amor Fati so powerful. It returns us to reality, not as punishment, but as material. Because nothing can be created from the life we did not have. Nothing can be shaped from the past that never happened. Nothing can be built from the perfect conditions we are still waiting for. We only have this. And for Nietzsche, the highest strength is the ability to take this and say, yes, even this. Again, not cheaply, not instantly, not without grief, but eventually, as an act of power. A person who can say yes only to pleasure is not yet strong. A person who can say yes only when life is easy is still dependent on fortune. A person who can say yes only when they are praised, loved, healthy, successful, and understood has not yet affirmed life. They have only affirmed favorable conditions. Nietzsche wants a deeper yes. A yes that includes difficulty, a yes that includes becoming, a yes that can stand before the eternal recurrence and not curse the whole of existence. This is why Amor Fati is the emotional answer to eternal recurrence. If you had to live your life again forever, the only way not to be crushed by the thought is to learn to love the life that is yours. Not because it was perfect, but because it is the only life from which your becoming can be made. Amor Fati is not simply peace, it is joy with depth, a joy that has passed through suffering, a joy that does not depend on innocence, a joy that does not require forgetting, a joy that can look at the wound and say, you were not the end of me. A joy that can look at failure and say, you became part of my form. A joy that can look at loss and say, you taught me the weight of love. A joy that can look at the past and say, I will not let you be only pain. This is not easy, and Nietzsche would not respect it if it were easy. The highest affirmation must be difficult. It must include resistance. It must include what we did not choose, because anyone can say yes to a gift. The test is whether we can say yes to the material that first appeared as a burden. This is where Amor Fati becomes a practice. Every time regret returns, Amor Fati asks, can this be transformed? Every time resentment rises, Amor Fati asks, what strength is still possible here? Every time the mind says, my life should have been different, Amor Fati asks, what can be created from the life that is actually mine? Every time we feel trapped by the past, Amor Fati asks, is this still a prison, or can it become material? Slowly, this changes the way a person relates to life. They stop waiting for a perfect story. They stop needing every chapter to be clean. They stop demanding that every wound justify itself before they begin to live. They begin to gather the fragments, the beautiful and the ugly, the chosen and the unchosen, the proud and the shameful, the joyful and the painful, and they begin to ask what kind of form can be made from all of it. This is why Amor Fati is not weakness. It is one of the strongest positions a human being can take, because it says, I will not be destroyed by the fact that life did not obey my wishes. I will not spend my existence demanding another beginning. I will not let regret become my God. I will not let resentment become my identity. I will not let suffering remain unused. I will take the whole of what has happened and turn toward becoming. This is the sacred yes in Nietzsche's philosophy, a yes that does not come from naivety, a yes that does not come from comfort, a yes born after disillusionment, after nihilism, after solitude, after the collapse of old meanings, after the terrifying thought of living life again. A yes that has seen the darkness and still chooses creation. Chapter 16. The Sacred Yes. What comes after the destruction of old meanings? What comes after the no? What comes after you have questioned your morality, removed your masks, left the herd, faced solitude, and looked at your life without illusion? For Nietzsche, the final goal is not bitterness, it is not rebellion, it is not endless criticism, it is not standing among ruins and feeling superior because you no longer believe what others believe. The final goal is creation. And creation requires something more difficult than destruction. It requires a sacred yes. Nietzsche is often remembered as the philosopher of the hammer, the man who destroys idols, the man who attacks morality, the man who declares that God is dead, the man who exposes weakness, resentment, masks, herd instincts, and false comfort. And yes, Nietzsche destroys, but he does not destroy because destruction is the goal. He destroys because something false must be cleared away before something real can be created. He says no because a deeper yes is still possible. This is the key. Nietzsche's no is not the final word. His no is a passage, a fire, a clearing, a way of making space for a higher form of life. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche gives us one of his most powerful images, the three transformations of the spirit, the camel, the lion, and the child. These three figures describe the journey of the soul. The first transformation is the camel. The camel kneels and says, "Load me." It carries weight, it carries duties, it carries inherited values, it carries the commands of the world. You must be good, you must obey, you must prove yourself, You must carry tradition. You must carry guilt. You must carry the expectations of others. The camel is strong, but its strength is the strength to bear. Many people live their entire lives as camels, responsible, obedient, enduring, carrying what they were given. But for Nietzsche, this is not yet freedom. The spirit must become a lion. The lion says no. The lion enters the desert and fights the great dragon of thou shalt. The dragon represents inherited commands, old values, sacred duties, the voice of the world saying, you must. The lion says, I will. This is the moment of rebellion, the moment when a person stops merely carrying, the moment when they say no to the old master, no to dead values, no to borrowed identities, no to the herd, no to the mask, no to comfort as the highest good, no to the smaller self that wants safety more than life. But no is not enough. A person can spend their whole life saying no and still remain dependent on what they reject. A person can rebel against religion and still be spiritually shaped by it. A person can rebel against family and still define themselves through family. A person can rebel against society and still need society as an enemy. A person can reject the herd and still spend every day trying to prove they are not part of it. This is not yet freedom. It is opposition. And opposition is still a kind of attachment. Nietzsche wants us to go further. The spirit must become a child. This is the final transformation. And it is strange. After the camel's burden and the lion's battle, Nietzsche does not give us a king. He does not give us a warrior. He does not give us a judge. He gives us a child. Why? Because the child represents a new beginning, play, creation, innocence, forgetting, a sacred yes. The child does not merely reject the old game. The child creates a new game. The child does not need to keep proving that the old world was wrong. The child is too alive to spend eternity arguing with ruins. The child begins. This is Nietzsche's final invitation, not simply to carry, not simply to rebel, but to create, to become capable of saying yes after the deepest no. This yes is not naive. It is not the yes of someone who has never suffered. It is not the yes of someone who has never doubted. It is not the yes of someone protected from nihilism, loneliness, loss, or the collapse of meaning. It is a yes that comes after all of that, a yes that has seen the abyss and still chooses life, a yes that has lost old certainties and still chooses creation, a yes that knows suffering is real but refuses to make suffering the final truth, a yes that knows the past cannot be changed but refuses to let regret become God, a yes that knows the world may not give meaning but still creates meaning. This is the sacred yes, and it is sacred because it is not easy. Anyone can say yes when life gives them what they want. Anyone can say yes when they are loved, praised, healthy, understood, and safe. But Nietzsche is asking for a deeper yes. Can you say yes after disillusionment? Can you say yes after the mask falls? Can you say yes after the crowd no longer carries you? Can you say yes after you discover that your values were inherited? Can you say yes after you realize that freedom does not come with instructions? Can you say yes to life not because it is gentle, but because you have become strong enough to create within it? This is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes more than criticism. It becomes a test of spiritual maturity. The immature soul only knows how to obey or rebel. It either says yes because it is told to say yes, or it says no because it wants to feel free. But the mature soul learns a third movement. It creates. It no longer needs to obey the old values. It no longer needs to remain trapped in hatred of them. It becomes fertile. It becomes playful. It becomes capable of beginning again. This is why the image of the child matters so much. The child is not sacred because it knows nothing. The child is sacred because it can begin again. After the camel has carried the weight, after the lion has fought the dragon, after old meanings have collapsed, after resentment has been faced, after nihilism has been crossed, the child appears as the possibility of a new yes. The child says, I create, I begin. I will make meaning where meaning was not simply given. I do not need the old world to bless me before I live. This is the spirit Nietzsche wants to awaken, not a spirit that is merely hard, not a spirit that is merely critical, not a spirit that is merely lonely, proud and separate, but a spirit free enough to create without bitterness. Because bitterness is still a chain, resentment is still a chain, endless rebellion is still a chain. Even the identity of being misunderstood can become a chain. Nietzsche wants freedom beyond all of this. The freedom to create, the freedom to affirm, the freedom to say yes without returning to obedience. And perhaps this is the hardest freedom of all. Many people can destroy old beliefs. Fewer can create new values. Many people can leave the herd. Fewer can stand alone without becoming resentful. Many people can expose masks. Fewer can form a real face. Many people can criticize life. Fewer can bless it. The sacred yes is the mark of the Creator. It is the moment when a person stops living mainly against something and begins living for something, not for approval, not for revenge, not for comfort, not for inherited promises, but for the life they are strong enough to shape. This does not mean the person becomes permanently happy. Nietzsche is not offering a painless existence. The sacred yes does not remove suffering. It transforms our relationship to suffering. It does not remove uncertainty. It transforms uncertainty into space for creation. It does not erase loneliness. It turns solitude into a workshop. It does not erase the past. It turns the past into material. It does not erase the death of old meanings. It turns the death into the beginning of value creation. This is Nietzsche's final invitation. Do not merely carry the old world. Do not merely destroy it. Create. Do not merely expose your masks. Form a self. Do not merely leave the herd. Become strong enough not to hate it. Do not merely suffer. Transform. Do not merely survive your fate. Love it. Do not merely ask what life means. Become the kind of person whose life gives meaning back to the world. This is the sacred yes. The yes of the child. The yes after the no. The yes after the abyss. The yes that says, I know life is uncertain, painful, unfinished, and dangerous. And still, I will create. Still, I will become. Still, I say yes. Chapter 17. Final Reflection. Nietzsche does not leave us with comfort, at least not the easy kind. He does not tell us that life is simple. He does not tell us that suffering will always make sense. He does not tell us that truth will be gentle. He does not tell us that freedom will feel safe. He does not tell us that becoming ourselves will make us immediately happy. Nietzsche gives us something more difficult, a mirror, and if we have followed him this far, the mirror is no longer easy to avoid. We have seen that a person can live comfortably and still feel empty, that old meanings can collapse while people continue pretending nothing has changed, that nihilism can hide inside ordinary life, that morality can sometimes conceal resentment, that identity can become a mask, that the herd can shape our desires before we even know they are not our own, that solitude can frighten us because it removes the noise that once protected us. That power, in its deepest sense, is not domination over others, but the ability to shape the chaos within ourselves. And we have seen that Nietzsche's highest challenge is not merely to criticize life, it is to affirm it, to pass through the no and arrive at a yes. But this yes is not soft. It is not a slogan. It is not the easy optimism that says everything happens for a reason. Nietzsche would not accept that. He knew too much about pain. His own life was marked by illness, loneliness, misunderstanding, and collapse. He knew that suffering can break people. He knew that solitude can poison people. He knew that freedom can terrify people. He knew that the death of old meanings can leave the soul cold and exposed, and yet he refused to let pain have the final word. This may be the deepest thread running through his philosophy. Nothing is automatically redeemed, but almost everything can become material. Suffering is not automatically wisdom, but it can become depth. Loneliness is not automatically strength, but it can become solitude. The collapse of old values is not automatically freedom, but it can become creation. The past is not automatically meaningful, but it can be transformed. Even nihilism is not fixed as the end. Everything depends on what we can create from it. This is one of Nietzsche's most powerful gifts. He teaches us that the human being is not finished. We are not merely what happened to us. We are not merely what we inherited. We are not merely what we feared. We are not merely what the herd approved. We are not merely the mask. We are not merely the wound. We are something still becoming, something unfinished, something capable of shrinking into comfort or rising into creation. And this is where Nietzsche becomes deeply personal, because no one else can become for us. No one else can create our values for us. No one else can transform our suffering for us. No one else can stand in our solitude for us. No one else can love our fate for us. No one else can say yes to our life in our place. This is the burden of freedom, but it is also the dignity of freedom. To be free is not simply to have choices. It is to become responsible for what those choices make of us. It is to stop waiting for life to explain itself before we begin to live. It is to stop waiting for the perfect past, the perfect condition, the perfect certainty, the perfect permission. It is to begin with what is here, this body, this history, this pain, this confusion, this possibility, this life. Nietzsche does not ask us to pretend that life is gentle. He does not ask us to deny cruelty, loss, illness, loneliness, or grief. He knew too much about pain to speak cheaply, but he asks whether pain must have the final word. He asks whether we can take what wounds us and refuse to let it remain only a wound. He asks whether we can take the chaos within us and give it form. He asks whether we can become artists of existence, not perfect artists, not pure artists, not artists without fear, but artists who work with what they have been given, artists who do not wait for clean material, artists who shape the broken, the unfinished, the inherited, the painful, and the strange, into a life that can one day be called their own. This is why Nietzsche's final wisdom is not simply dark. It is severe, but not hopeless, dangerous, but not empty, critical, but not merely negative. Underneath the hammer, there is a call to creation. Underneath the no, there is a deeper yes. Underneath the destruction of illusions, there is the possibility of a more honest life. A life not built on borrowed dreams, a life not ruled by resentment, a life not softened into sleep by comfort, a life not trapped inside the need to be approved, a life not waiting for meaning to arrive from somewhere else, but a life that begins to give meaning back. This is what Nietzsche leaves us with, the question of whether we can become worthy of our own freedom, the question of whether we can live without hiding behind dead values, the question of whether we can suffer without becoming poisoned, the question of whether we can stand alone without becoming cruel, the question of whether we can create without needing applause, the question of whether we can say yes to life as it is, while still shaping what it may become. And perhaps this is why Nietzsche still speaks so strongly to the modern soul, because so many people today are free, but directionless, connected but lonely, comfortable but restless, informed but not wise, entertained but not nourished, surrounded by voices but unsure which voice is truly their own. Nietzsche enters this world like a cold wind. He does not soothe us immediately. He wakes us slowly. He asks us to look again at our values, at our comforts, at our fears, at our masks, at the life we are living, and at the life we may still be able to create. He does not ask us to become perfect. He does not ask us to become untouched by suffering. He does not ask us to become hard in the shallow sense. He asks us to become deeper, more honest, more responsible, more alive. He asks us to stop sleepwalking through inherited meanings, to stop calling fear wisdom, to stop calling comfort freedom, to stop calling resentment justice, to stop calling the mask the self, and then, after all the questioning, after all the destruction, after all the loneliness, he asks for something extraordinary. A yes to becoming, a yes to creation, a yes to the unfinished life, a yes to the difficult freedom of being responsible for ourselves, a yes to this earth, this body, this moment, this fate. Not because everything has been easy, not because everything has been fair, not because everything has been understood, but because this is the life from which something can still be formed. And maybe that is the final meaning of Nietzsche's command. Become who you are, not who the herd told you to be, not who your fear trained you to be, not who your wounds forced you to be, not who your mask pretended to be, not who old values demanded you should be, but the self that can be created when you stop running from your own life. Slowly, honestly, painfully, beautifully, and perhaps as the noise fades and the night grows quiet, Nietzsche's question remains, not as an answer, not as a doctrine, but as a whisper beneath everything. Are you living or only obeying? Are you becoming or only repeating? Are you awake or merely comfortable? And if the answer is not yet what you hoped, then the journey is not over. Something in you may still be unfinished. Something in you may still be waiting. Something in you may still be strong enough to create. And so in the darkness, Nietzsche leaves us not with comfort, but with possibility. Not with certainty, but with responsibility. Not with escape, but with a deeper invitation. Look at your life, all of it. The beauty, the pain, the silence, the failure, the longing, the unfinished path, and ask whether slowly, patiently, courageously, you can begin to shape it into something you would one day be strong enough to bless. Not because it was perfect, but because it became yours. Not because it was painless, but because it was transformed. Not because life gave you meaning, but because you became strong enough to create it.